This is S4 with your host, Eric Cooper.
Greetings, folks, and welcome to S4, where we talk about the real issues involving paranormal and current events, coming to you live from the S4 headquarters in the heart of the Cascade Mountains of Washington State. We also cover topics such as disaster and terrorist response and preparation and veterans issues as appropriate, like, well, this weekend. So tonight, for me, it's somber. It's Memorial Day weekend, and although I don't want to make it a somber show, we will be talking military paranormal experiences. But I do want to mention two military members I know, actually three, two of them passed by suicide. And we're going to talk about that for a minute. I was a very fortunate NCO in that I never lost any soldiers directly to combat action. Unlike many of my friends who did. So, we lose 22 vets and active duty to suicide a day. That's a day, folks. You think COVID is bad. Military suicide is by far worse. So with that, if you're military and you feel suicidal, or a veteran and feels suicidal, I want you to call the VA hotline. It's 1-800-273-8255. Press 1. And now you can also text them at 741-741. And you'll actually find somebody in text message through the VA that will be there to help you. So I got to give a couple shout outs real quick. Cryptid TV on Facebook. Go find their Facebook group. They're a big supporter of S4 Paranormal Radio. Also the Campfire Mystery Exchange. Another very large supporter of this show. I have to give a shout out to, it is Memorial Day weekend, to the Medics from Hell. And we're going to talk a lot about the Medics from Hell. My brothers and sisters in arms from 11th Armored Cavalry. And that's one of my fallen brothers actually comes from as well, Specialist Thomas Marion. Made it all the way through Operation Positive Force in Doha, and 2 weeks later died in a car wreck. It sucked. He was a brother. And with that, I want to honor him with the Fiddler's Green. Now, I'm going to give you a warning now, because Fiddler's Green some will find offensive. But Fiddler's Green, for anyone that's cavalry, knows Fiddler's Green is a cavalryman's heaven. Kind of like Valhalla is, the other world for Norse, Vikings. Well, Fiddler's Green is the other world for cavalry. And like I was telling Cole in the beginning, it's going to seem kind of crass, but if you look at the history of the cavalry, they were the first military unit in this country. I mean, they're the ones that, when the government said, okay, we've got to take over this Native American tribe, they were the unit that went and did it. So, Fiddler's Green. halfway down the trail to hell, in a shady meadow green, are the souls of all dead troopers, camped near a good old-fashioned canteen. And this eternal resting place is known as Fiddler's Green. Marching past, straight through to hell, the infantry are seen, accompanied by the engineers, artillery, and marine. For none but the shades of cavalrymen dismount at Fiddler's Green. Though some go curving down the trail to seek a warmer scene, no trooper ever gets to hell ere he's emptied his canteen, and so rides back to drink again with friends at Fiddler's Green. And so when man and horse go down beneath a saber keen, or in a roaring charge fierce melee, you stop a bullet clean, and the hostiles come to get your scalp, just empty your canteen and put your pistol to your head and go to Fiddler's Green. So Fiddler's Green, like I said, is the other world for cavalrymen. And we actually, that was actually the name of our NCO club. That's the bar. So, interesting history. Black Horse was probably my favorite unit. One of a couple. I was in about 6 different units, so we'll talk about them tonight. But yeah, Alons, my brothers. Alons. Anyway, Cole. So we'll get off the somber note now. How are we doing on the month of May giveaways?
Good. We had one issue.
Did we?
Yeah.
What was the issue?
So our winner Chris won a few weeks ago, and his package got sent back. The postage label came off somewhere along the line, and so they actually sent it back to us. So it is back out to you, Chris, if you're listening. If not, you'll hear it in a few days when you download the show. So, but we, it is back on its way to you. It should be there Tuesday. So, other than that, we've got 7 stories so far. We are doing great, and we've got one picked out for tonight, and we will draw a winner in the 3rd hour. So, make sure you get your entries in. All you got to do is email us at s4radiowinner@gmail.com, and you will be entered to win.
You almost forgot.
Yeah. Friend. And then make sure you also send us a paranormal story with that. Don't just say, hey. We've got quite a few good stories on here, and hopefully we will get a few more winners. And then our winner last week, Jefferson, you need to send me a message back with your address. So make sure you do that when you get a chance. Other than that, we are ready to go. Jill, you'll be getting yours in a few days. So make sure you get those in before the 3rd hour, and we will throw you in with the rest of the winners, or drawers.
Drawers.
Yeah.
Drawers.
And so, Izzy and Kayla have been busting their asses on the new store.
Hey, I made something.
Oh, you made an apron.
Yeah.
Yeah. Y'all need to go check out the new S4 store. It's at the It's on our website at www.s-4radio.com. Go to merchandise or merch, and I don't know. There's probably 6 pages of merchandise now.
So many things.
Right.
Stuff and things.
Right. Mugs. Hey, J. Ron, happy. You know what? Blessed Memorial Day. I want to explain something too. Because everyone says happy Memorial. To most of us, Memorial Day is not a happy day. It's Veterans Day, sure, happy Veterans Day, great. But Memorial Day is the day we honor our fallen. Just saying. This ain't the day we grab the family and go out and have a picnic. No. This is the day that many go to the cemetery, which you really can't now because of COVID. But, yeah. So, if you go to a veteran's headstone and you find money, just leave it, please. Leave it. Because if you find a penny, that means somebody that they served with has visited them. If you find a nickel, that means they went to basic training with them. I'm trying to remember this. But if you find a quarter, that person was actually with the service member when they died. So, yeah, if you find change, leave it. It's disrespectful if you think you're going to take it. Just saying.
Well, I would, on that note, if you find anything on a grave, don't take it.
Well, I do that. I get that.
I do get the whole thing with the Happy Memorial Day, but at the same time, there is no good conjunctive there to say. Like, you don't just say, hey, Memorial Day to you.
I say Blessed Memorial Day. That's just me.
The problem is that it's so hard to get that to catch on. Because it's what everyone's used to saying.
I don't expect it to catch on. And I don't get me wrong, it might sound like I was offended. I don't get offended. I get it. But I like to clarify the difference, because so many get confused with the difference between Memorial Day and Veterans Day. So you could say thank you for your service any day of the year.
Yep.
That's great. And I've gotten that a few times today, is thank you for your service. But I just want to clarify, today is the day we honor the ones that haven't come back.
Oh, absolutely. I think for a lot of people, it's... for some people, it's people they don't even know, people they never got to meet. Mm-hmm. Grandparents and such.
Well, for me, it was my uncle. I never met my uncle. He died in Vietnam.
Yeah. So, and with that... honestly, I would say it is a happy Memorial Day, because that member of your family cared enough about you and the future generations to give up his life in a war for you.
Mm-hmm.
And although he's gone, there's only one really good way to celebrate that.
Yeah, but it sucks I never got to meet him.
Absolutely.
For sure.
That was my mom's brother.
When we were kids, we'd go down to my family cemetery, and my grandmother's brother passed away in the Battle of Midway, just in that area. And we would put flowers on his grave every Memorial Day.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, it's hard to find vets that even want to talk about it to come on our show. Some of them are working. Some of the ones that we had lined up for tonight, they're sick. And not with COVID.
Well, maybe one. You never know.
So tonight we're just going to sit and, some of the stories I've got for you, you've heard. Some of them you haven't. So I actually sat and took most of the day, and I went through my entire military career timeline of paranormal events. And we're going to go over that. Because it goes everything from UFOs to alien interaction to, crap ton of spirits.
You ever see a Bigfoot when you were in the...
Not in the military, after. And honestly,
he was in Iraq. Like Bigfoot would be in Iraq.
He was also
in how hot that would be?
Dude, so
in all fairness,
in Germany.
You've got the 1980... Oh, God, when was that case? I want to say everyone says 81. When did St. Helens blow up? It was 81, wasn't it?
40 years ago.
So, yeah, 80.
This was the 40th. So it would have been 80.
When St. Helens blew up, and you got to understand, I was at Fort Lewis for, 9 years? Off and on. But, there was a National Guard unit that was called in that actually was reputed to have taken 2 living and 2 bodies of Bigfoot to Fort Lewis.
Oh, I heard about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a fair question, and there's 10,000 acres of training grounds of all wooded area. Well, there's meth labs and there's Bigfoot.
I would assume that they would probably stay away from the training grounds, though.
But could you imagine a Bigfoot in Iraq? Like, its 2 worst enemies: sunshine and sand.
Tree. Hey, look, it's Bigfoot trying to be a tree. Yeah. And I'm not sure. We need to find someone in the Middle East that can actually talk about that, because I'm curious if there's a Bigfoot version in the Middle East.
I've never heard of anything. But that's the thing. Like, they have different cryptids over there that we don't have here.
Well, they have gin.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are
That's the main
things.
one I was
Oh
thinking
my God.
about, too. But, like, the only one I really think that is
Well, to have a tiger...
popularly worldwide within the military is gremlins.
Gremlins?
I really believe they are worldwide with the military force.
That reminds me. No, I'm not going to go there.
Oh yeah, redheaded giants.
Huh?
Weren't the redheaded? Tim is saying the redheaded giants, and those over in Iraq too, like the caves that.
So if
giant
anything,
bones.
I would have to venture a guess that would be Afghanistan. Because there was all these articles going around years ago that I had to call. I hate using the term fake news, but it was bullshit. Because 10th Mountain was not in Afghanistan at the point in time the article was written. I analyzed the photo and was like, those are 10th Mountain patches. They're out of New York. They didn't go to Afghanistan. They went to Iraq, and they've been everywhere. They went to Somalia. They've been all over the place, but. At the point in time, the article was that incident was supposed to have happened where they went into the caves of Afghanistan and found alien technology. Well, I'm sorry, but the news source is uncredible. It's a clickbait news source, and so I've always looked at that's why that I'm not going to say the name, but that particular news source is not allowed, and it never has been allowed in Force Moon Paranormal. Because it's always BS news.
I think we should say the name.
Huh?
I think we should say the name.
No, I've butted heads.
Do
with,
it.
I've butted heads with the founder of that news agency, and no.
Come on, fake.
Okay, fine. Before it's news.
Which one?
Before it's news.
Well, how can you have news before it's news?
Well,
That's the dumbest name in the world.
It's a clickbait site, and I got into it with the founders of that news agency, and no, we tell the real stuff. No, you don't. 10th Mountain was not in Afghanistan. Well, you can't argue that with me. Have a nice day. You're not allowed in my group. That was it. So, my paranormal events, or life, I guess, didn't really start until the military. It's weird. So growing up, I grew up in Big Lake, which is one of the probably more mysterious areas of Skagit County when you look at the lore of it. And I could tell you legends about Big Lake, but...
Big Lake Monster?
No.
Oh.
No. Well, shit, they actually pull out a steamship out of Big Lake.
Yeah.
From the 1900s.
Yep, there was this...
I
don't know how accurate that is at all, but they were talking about like the Big Lake Monster and it being...
I've never heard of that one.
Nessie, except a smaller version of more like a water snake, but... Eh. Every single lake you go to has some weird, mysterious monster
Devil's
or
Lake.
something. Yeah.
There's one for you. Devil's Lake is above Big Lake, and they've never found a bottom to it.
I thought I saw a monster in Whatcom Lake. Oh my god.
Well,
that was
Whatcom Lake's
scary.
huge.
Yeah.
Well, also a big lake.
It ended up just being like a beaver, but it
Not a
scared me.
beaver.
It scared me for a minute there.
What is wrong with you?
I'm just saying. All I saw was its tail, and it was like, oh, and I'm like, what is that? And yeah, it was a beaver.
I've never heard of that one either.
The beaver monster of Whatcom
The
Lake.
beaver monster of Whatcom.
All right, you don't get to start where you want. You
Huh?
start where I want.
What?
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 Your time slip.
Oh, we'll get there.
Oh no, we're not getting there. We're going there now.
Let's go there. I wanna
Okay,
hear
well,
it.
let me get to Bad Hersfeld, because Bad Hersfeld alone is, yeah.
There's a reason I want to talk about that first.
Uh-huh.
It's because it's been a discussion of topic in our two households lately. It really has. There's been a lot of things happening within the world and within the news that have discussed time slips. So start with that one particular story for me.
Okay.
Refresh everyone's minds on that.
So, me and AJ and I,
AJ.
So AJ was a cook. And he was new. That's why I don't remember his last name. I'd love to find him and corroborate with him. I got a picture of him. But he was a cook. So if you ever join the military, the ones you want to become friends with are your cooks, your medics, your maintenance, and your supply. Remember those four, because anybody can shoot a weapon. Remember that.
And the dogs.
We didn't have dogs.
Well, you see one, you want to be his friend. I've seen what those army dogs do.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, they want to be friends.
Oh, yeah, if you have a canine unit, but it's usually the MPs that have canines. Anyway, hey, we're tired of hanging around the barracks, so we're going downtown. Bad Hersfeld, folks. You ever want to visit a crazy town in Germany, go to Bad Hersfeld. A lot of history there, too. So we're walking, into town, down this alley, and in front of us is what's called the Ratskeller. So the Ratskeller will be your equivalent here to your Chamber of Commerce, your political building. But at this point in time, it's a restaurant because they didn't have a political building in Bad Hersfeld. They moved it because it's a historic site, really. So as we're walking down this alley towards the main street, so in Germany, the main street, usually there's no traffic. It's a pedestrian walkway. So as we're walking down this alley, both of our vision went to black and white. Now, we didn't know that, obviously, because we're walking in silence. We're just walking to a bar. And in front of us, we both see a 1920s limousine with a Hitler flag, or a swastika flag on one side, German flag on the other. And as we're walking, because we talked about this after the fact, and we both saw the same thing. But we see Hitler and his entourage come out of the Ratskeller. Now, what's curious about this whole story is they all stopped and looked at us, but they didn't look shocked. They didn't look freaked out. So I don't know. Did they see a couple of USGIs walking down an alley and take a left and walk past them, and or did they see a couple Germans walking down an alley and take a left and walk past them? But they didn't.
Or did they see anything at all?
They looked at us. The whole entourage turned around and looked at us. So we both saw them, but we didn't stop. I don't think it really sunk in what we were looking at until we were already past it. And he said, "Stop, Coop." And I was like, "Did you see something weird back there?" And he says, "You saw it too?" And we both, described the same scene. We had both seen it. So I guess the question would be: did we walk through a wormhole? Did we walk through a time slip? What was it? It wasn't usual. That's for damn sure. So what's your thoughts?
Well, so here's the thing. The scientists have recently found what they believe to be a parallel universe going backwards in time.
Okay.
Cool.
Which would make sense, because I don't think they can go forward in time.
But they can't identify at what time it is at right now. So if there's let's say an 80-year gap in between our two times.
Right.
Or let's say, it'd have to be a 40-year gap for that.
This happened in 1992.
So that's 60 years. So even could be a 120-year gap. If there's a gap in between, there's what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
You guys might have actually just stepped into a portal into that universe.
It didn't affect us none.
But that's the thing. It might not, because you wouldn't have ran into yourselves.
Huh?
You wouldn't have ran into yourselves because it would have been a different time.
Right.
And therefore, when you ran into it, though, they wouldn't have been surprised because the entire time Hitler was leading, he was looking for things like that. And we have no idea how close he was.
Oh, hell no. Well, look at the bell. Or the, what's...
The German bell. Yeah.
Yeah, no, what's the German name for it? I can't remember.
I don't know right now.
And I used to speak fluent German.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mensch Meier. Yeah.
Die Glock.
Yeah, Die Glock. That's what it is.
Die Glock.
It's Die Glock.
Die Glock.
D.
D-I-E.
D.
Right?
Die Glock. And, you know, that's the thing with Hitler. Hitler was into the supernatural. He was into the occult. He was into...
Right, so nothing would really bother him. Like, even if he did see people from 30, 40, 50 years in the future...
He didn't
be
follow us, though.
Yeah, but if it was a daily thing... Okay, so, like, we talk about, like, certain people that have... that are, like, medians and different stuff like that. If they're seeing this on a daily, then does it really have the same effect to them that it would on anybody else? They might look at you because they're like, oh, hey, look at that outfit. That's new. Right? But they wouldn't say anything or follow you because why?
And you might not be the first people they saw.
Oh, and that's possible. That is possible, especially with Hitler.
And that's the thing, like, with that whole thing. We can all agree that Hitler was a bad man. Well, most of us.
Stop it.
So, but... when he may have been very bad, but he honestly was a genius. He saw that he had power. He knew how to gain power. Mm-hmm. The reason he was looking into all this was how to keep it. That's the thing he couldn't figure out is how to keep the power. Because no one can keep the power.
I didn't say that out loud.
But no one can keep it. It's not possible yet.
Right.
He was looking for any way to keep it 100% forever.
It didn't work out too well for him, did it?
Well, depends on who you
He's
talk
doing
to.
fairly good at the 7-Eleven he works at. Like, he's up to 14 an hour already. So.
Is this 7-Eleven in SeaTac? Like, come on. Nobody makes 14 an hour working at 7-Eleven unless you're the boss, man.
No, if you're Seattle.
That's what I said. Is it in SeaTac? Or...
yeah.
Jeez.
Seattle might.
But yeah, that's honestly what I think you might have stepped into as a parallel universe.
Well, if you look at the history of Bad Hersfeld, too, Bad Hersfeld goes back to Napoleon. And they have what's called Lulu's Fest. Lulu's Fest. So Lulu's was the chancellor, the mayor of Bad Hersfeld back in Napoleon's day. And they knew Napoleon was coming to raid Bad Hersfeld. So he built a bonfire on all four corners of the city. So when Napoleon and his army crested the hillside, they just saw smoke and flame, and they thought that Bad Hersfeld had already been ravaged. And they turned and went the other way. And he saved Bad Hersfeld. So, when you look at the times, maybe there's something in Bad Hersfeld that drew Hitler there anyway.
Yeah. Like, I don't see you having an actual time slip. I don't know if someone can go through that without being affected.
Well, look at Major Day.
No, I mean, like, an immediate... afflictions.
And that's my point. That's why I don't know if it was a time slip or not. Because
like, you jumped, 60 years?
Yeah.
That's a lot on a body.
Right.
It's got to be no matter how you look at it. Friend.
That's why I got to find AJ. AJ, so if you were a cook in the Black Horse and your name is AJ, you need to get a hold of me. It's Coop. Doc Coop.
So what I wonder is, okay, so people sometimes they say that if something horrific enough happened in an area, so kind of like those ghost kids in the train, okay, that it leaves an imprint in time, that it can leave like just a piece in time,
right?
So maybe something horrific happened there and it left a trace of time.
Yeah, and you don't know when it's from, too.
That's why I want to go back to Bathurstfield and walk down the same alley and see if something happens. Maybe there's a shift right there.
That sounds like a bad idea, Eric. Like, I'm just saying.
What,
you came back this time.
You don't come back?
Yeah, what happens if you don't?
You're stuck with Hitler.
That's a really bad idea.
Oh.
Sorry, nope. I'm not getting into that.
Oh, yes, we are going to talk politics.
Mi familia. Oh.
And, nothing like that's ever happened, to my knowledge, again.
That's the thing. I'm wondering if that actually happens more than people think and they just don't notice.
Not necessarily don't notice, but just go, whoa, that was weird, like
right.
an awkward little daydream or something.
Right.
Or they're like, my mind wandered really awkward right there. That was awkward.
I'd actually say don't notice because, like, what if it's happening in a forest? Are you going to notice?
I'd notice if it turned to black and white.
Oh, so on that.
What if it didn't?
That's happened here. So I had a buddy that was quadding. Well, actually, a couple different things happened with him on that one. He was actually on Iron Mountain. Now, I think Iron Mountain is the one above Lyman Hamilton, correct? He was...
No, there's some big hills here.
Oh, yeah. But he was quad running... This is years ago. This is, 30 or more years ago. And he was on logging roads with his quad runner, and he smelled smoke. He's, that's weird, because nobody else was up there with him. And as he's running down this road, he sees this little girl on a 1950s bicycle in a white dress. And she rolls on past him and smiles and waves. And he's like, that's weird. And he had to relieve himself, so he stopped his quad. He saw all this smoke in this meadow. And he walked through the trees to this meadow, and there's a whole tent city burning.
That's weird.
Well, come to find out, he thought it was weird, yeah, but after doing some research, he found out there was I can't remember if it was a logging camp or if it was back in the 1920s, a whole logging camp burned to the ground in that same area. So he essentially did a slip
back in time
and witnessed it.
Well,
but here's the question. Would that be a time slip, or would that just be a residual haunting?
It could be either, really. I can't remember his name right now off the top of my head, but he was a pilot, and he supposedly went over a base, and he saw, on his way past the first time, he saw the base all devastated and everything. Mm-hmm. And then on his loop back around, he saw all new planes, and they were painted yellow, and all of the people on the base had, like, blue jumpsuits and stuff on. He was like, well, that's really strange. Went and landed his plane, went back there, and it was all devastated and everything.
Right.
And then, what was it? I think it was like 4 or 5 years later, they totally redid it, and all of the planes there were painted yellow, and the people were wearing blue jumpsuits and stuff. So, I mean, there's tons of history about time slips.
Huh. So, J.R. wants to know, is the contest for Americans only? No.
Yeah.
No, we're an international show with international listeners, and all of our contests are open for everybody.
But your prizes come in English only.
Yes, you must speak English.
You don't have to speak English. God.
Okay, write in English.
Yeah, at least give me your address in English.
If it's...
Well,
oh my
we
God.
must be able to read the story.
I guess. Well, no, don't give me your address in English because then the mailman might not know what to do with it.
Right?
So,
Oh, Jesus.
what?
Terrible.
Okay,
people.
but so scientists believe that time is not a straight line. It's a wave.
It's a wave.
What?
So, but here's the thing: if there's a parallel universe,
Uh-huh.
certain events in each timeline can make that wave either spread or condense.
Uh-huh.
Now, let's say the Japan earthquake.
CERN.
Yeah. Okay, but let's go with the Japan earthquake for a second. That was an event that actually knocked our Earth off its axis.
Right?
Maybe
That is enough of an event
off.
to actually really change time in ways. If our timeline switched that way and their time, like let's say ours condensed and theirs flattened,
Yeah, we
if
flattened
they're
the curve.
parallel,
Right.
there are 2 points there where they would intersect. And it would not be at the same point in time exactly.
Can you imagine going back to the Jurassic era?
That would suck.
would.
No thanks.
Hey, it's a raptor. Oh, I'm not going back to my timeline now. Oh my god, I'm raptor.
I have a hard enough time with mosquitoes that are like itty bitty.
Right.
I don't want one that's like the size of my head coming after me.
No.
No thanks.
No.
Can you imagine how quick you'd get malaria? Oh my god.
Just by one mosquito,
One mosquito
bite, you go
bite,
back in
you'd
your
just be
timeline,
like,
you got malaria.
Yeah, exactly.
But because that
But no.
also brings into the question that is it the same amount of time that passes?
Okay, well, if you actually go by the logic of time, it's relative, so it doesn't matter.
Well, no, but
Like-
yeah, but it's relative to you. You were in both timelines at the same time.
Uh-huh.
Therefore, like, let's say when you pass through, you are there for half an hour. Okay? Let's say that.
It's only 2 minutes our time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the two timelines are at a
Right.
different angle.
So it just, and that thought brings back the Fey realm. You go to the Fey realm for 5 minutes, it's 7 years. Our time.
Oh, hell no. I'm sorry, but I don't want to be taken by no fae. They
No.
take you for an hour, and
Imagine if you
everyone
went
you
there-
come back to is dead.
Imagine if you went there for an hour.
That's what I said. You go there for an hour, you come back.
People, not everyone is dead.
No, they'd be like,
This is an
90.
I Am Legend.
I wonder if that's how dogs feel. They're like, oh man.
It's what, 7 years for every year?
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, our dog's 96. No, not really, but yeah.
Close
No.
to, huh?
Oh.
But okay, so that
But-
makes me think of the whole like size and time being relative. Okay, because like, all right, you got like a little tiny ant, right? Does it have the same amount of time as we have, or not?
Depends on how big of a magnifying glass I have.
Right?
They have 0 time.
Or if
5
you
good
step
enough.
on them. Look, you step on them. I wonder if you step on an ant, if its life flashes before its eyes.
What, all 3 pieces of grass that it crawled over?
Yeah.
Maybe.
But again, that's relative. That's their life.
That's what
So,
I'm
right?
saying. So do they comprehend time in the same manner that we do?
Mm-hmm.
Or do they comprehend it entirely
No,
different?
they can't.
So, have you ever heard of the conspiracy theory that the whole reason we went to Iraq was to take over the Stargates?
Oh, crap. Sorry.
Why did they have oil at the Stargates or what?
No, there's supposed to be a Stargate in Iraq.
Sorry.
And the whole reason Bush sent us to Iraq was over a Stargate. Because we wanted the technology.
All right, which Bush?
So that would have been Bush Jr.
No, it wouldn't have.
No, it would have been Bush Senior. if you think like that's what I'm saying. So wait a minute, which time?
Well, no,
No,
it was
second time.
junior, but it was like senior ran. The
But senior
at that
could have
point.
told him, we got a Stargate in Baghdad. We need to go get it.
Yeah.
Well,
it's like when Bill was
It's only a conspiracy theory because there's been no proof of this. I still think we went for oil, but yeah.
Have you ever, in your paranormal investigations or research, ever come across any truth to the Stargate theory?
No.
Like, I mean, at all. Like, not even military, but like...
In research, yeah.
Yeah?
In physically being somewhere, hell no. But I do think there's a Stargate in the Middle East. Did we go to Iraq for it? No, I don't think so. I think every continent's got a Stargate.
See, that's where I would have to differ in opinion from you.
Huh.
I honestly don't believe that every continent has a Stargate. I believe there's one per world.
Why? Think about it. So, and we're going to do a show on this. So I'm not really jumping the gun, but I kind of am, because we're going to dig a lot deeper into this. But if you look at alien races, so the Greys are known globally. The reptilians are known globally.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's certain races, such as the Nordics, are known mostly in Europe. Oh God, what's the name of that race? There's another race that is known only in Brazil. I think other races stick to one continent.
That's honestly why I always hated that show.
What's that?
Or shows like that, where they take off in something like the Stargate and come to a planet, and they're like, oh, this is what this whole planet is all about.
Mm-hmm. Ancient aliens?
No, he's talking like, okay, so Stargate, SG, whatever.
Yeah, like
right? So they land in one section
They land in a planet.
of a world.
Right.
And they get to that planet, and they're just in one, like they're in a 24 square kilometer area.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, okay, well, that's what this whole planet's like.
Yeah. See, but when did
Like, what if the Stargate's in Antarctica? So all they meet is penguins?
Oh man, they were populated by some really snazzy people,
Right?
like
Yeah,
black and
they
white
have
suits.
tuxedos on.
Right.
So that's where I was going with this, though, is when did Stargate the movie come out? Because the movie came out first, followed by the TV
sometime
series.
in the 90s. It was like 94, 95, something like
If you
that.
look at that timeline,
Okay.
they knew about somebody knew about Stargates back in the 90s.
1994.
Okay, so Stargates have been a thing since the beginning of time. Like, if you look at, like, okay, if you watch it, like, Ancient Aliens,
Not
for
discussed
instance.
so much, though. Ancient Aliens has only been around for, 3-4 years?
Oh, for sure. But the myth, the legends,
Has to be longer than that.
everything else.
They have 16 seasons.
Okay, yeah.
Right, but
So
I'm
2000.
talking, like, in folklore, in legend, in myth. They've been around forever. It's just like the star people have been around forever.
Right.
And so this isn't any new concept. They just took an already existing concept and made a TV show out of it.
They went farther than that, though. They went specific to actually what could be reality.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know anything about Stargates. Like, I'd probably end up somewhere where I couldn't breathe and I'd die in 30 seconds. I mean,
That's what I'd be worried about.
well, and that's the thing is that you realize
You
in
don't
all of these shows. Okay, so you got like what? You got Star Wars, you got Star Trek, you got Stargate, you got Firefly, all of these shows, right? So we just land on some random alien planet and we're able to breathe and live and be cool. Just how we are. Because everybody's going to be breathing the same thing.
If you went through a Stargate and went up on Mars, you'd die.
Yeah, that's the
There's
other thing.
But that's what I'm saying.
There's
Is
no
that
oxygen
every
there.
single one of these shows, they land on a planet where they are
That's
able to breathe
because
and there's
it
oxygen.
only took
and
you
this
to
and that.
planets that you could exist on.
Well, how if you put in the numbers?
Huh?
Okay, so the Stargate concept is you put in
You put in a grid coordinate.
the coordinates, and
Yeah.
it takes you to said planet, right? So if you're the one poking in the grid coordinates, how do you know that you can breathe on that planet?
It had a list of maps that were available that you could breathe on, that were Goldilocks planets. I'm reading it.
Okay, so I'm just throwing
And
this out here,
according to the original show, Earth only had 2 stargates. The one that Ra brought with him, the ancient Greek or Egyptian god, and the one that the Atlanteans created on Earth, and they were considered the ancients.
Right.
They were an original race of alien that came to Earth and settled.
Okay.
Now they're gone.
Well, it went up.
Okay, so
and that's where the confusion lies. Everyone looks
I'm
over
just
the
saying,
ocean
like,
for
okay,
Atlantis.
I'm gonna
Atlantis
take
didn't
this
go down;
in
it
here.
went up.
I'm going to take this in here, and I'm going to say, yes, okay, so even if you could breathe the air on said planet, right? Do they give you intergalactic vaccines before you head there?
They moved to the Pegasus Galaxy.
Yep.
5 to 10 million years ago.
You would die immediately. Going to a different planet with different strains of disease, different strains of... You would die. There would be no way that you wouldn't die. And nobody ever dies in these movies of, like, I don't know, the common cold on their planet.
In all fairness, if I remember right, now it's been years since I watched that show or that movie. I'm going to have to go home and watch it. Hell no, I'm on a blacklist binge.
You switched from Ancient?
Huh?
You switched from Ancient Aliens?
Yeah, Ancient Aliens was great, but there's only so many topics I can talk about. There really is.
Yeah.
Once they start redoing them.
Yeah. Well, we do the same thing. But my main point was I want to get guests from Ancient Aliens to sit and answer our questions.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Because I'm not telling you it's aliens.
But it's aliens. I'd love to get...
Okay, but seriously, if we get him on, then we have to do it like Skype video, just so that he can flip his hair.
And I know you were making the point that they can't go to every single planet and be able to live.
Yeah, they would die.
Yeah, but you know what? That makes for a really crappy show if everyone dies in the 3rd episode because they went to the wrong one.
Well, why do you think they put red shirts on everybody that dies in Star Trek? They're like, oh, you're dead.
No, but if I remember right, and correct me if I'm wrong, weren't they wearing spacesuits when they walked through the Stargate?
In the original movie, they did. Once they got to SG-1, they quit.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
They just walked right through.
Because I would expect them to wear a helmet. A spacesuit, so they can actually breathe.
Dude, you'd have to wear something.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what
And
I'm
I
saying,
might have
though.
missed
It's
it
not
because
just
I watched
breathing.
Stargate years ago, but I might have missed it. But they might actually have something that they developed
Right.
that's an implant or something that allows you to breathe.
They'd have to do something.
Yeah, those little worm things that go into their belly buttons.
Worm things.
No, that was only the one black alien guy.
Okay, whatever.
Remember, he had that.
Yeah, I don't know.
creature
There were
inside him?
weird little worm things. I don't know. It was like Dax in freaking Star Trek. So.
Brian.
Anyways.
Stargate.
Yeah, we'll do a Stargate show later.
So you think there's one on every continent, though? So we have a number of Stargates?
I don't think every continent. I think there's 3. I think there's one in the Middle East. I think there's one here. Mm-hmm. There's got to be one in Europe.
I think it's in Egypt.
Huh? So 4.
Yeah, there's got to be one in Egypt.
I don't know.
Think about it.
No,
They have the best kept secrets in the world.
Mm-hmm. Oh, dude, there's so much sand. They know there's stuff buried under the sand from the
Yeah, they can't even find their own cities.
No, they can't. How much stuff is buried that they haven't even discovered that is actually ancient technology.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And they still can't. Scientists are still arguing over the Sphinx.
Oh, yeah.
Some scientists are saying, well, that's wind erosion. The other ones are saying, no, that is water erosion, which means this is much older than it should have been because there was rain back when this was eroded. Mm. And then there's the other argument that it's actually not, it's actually, oh God, what's that god's name? The Jackalhead.
Steve.
Jackalhead? I don't know.
Huh? No, God, I should know his name.
God of where?
Huh?
From where?
Egypt. The Egyptian god. They don't think it's an actual lion head on the Sphinx. They think it's the jackal god. I'm trying to remember what his name is.
Anubis?
Anubis, yeah.
Okay.
Well...
And that they actually took Anubis' head off, and he's buried the Anubis' head. Yes, thank you, Izzy. But yeah, Anubis' head is buried in the sand next to the Sphinx, but they transferred gods on the Sphinx. And that's fine. It's actually Egyptologists that argued about that. Now, why? Unless it was a pharaoh that honored one god over the other and wanted his god to be on the Sphinx and on the other.
Well, and that happened tons of times.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, think about any rewrite of history. Okay, how many times has the Bible, for instance, been revised?
Right.
Okay, so wouldn't it be the same thing? You take out what you don't like, you add what you do. Like, so you chisel off one guy's face and you stick on another's?
Over the centuries.
Right.
So we're watching Warehouse 13 for the umpteenth time.
I love that show.
Oh, I love that show.
Librarians is good too. It's on the same basic concept.
Uh-huh.
Warehouse 13, 90% of the things they mention are not mythological.
No, they're
they
like
are
Edgar
true
Allan
historical
Poe's pen
things.
and
Yes,
stuff.
right.
Yeah.
They do actually mention a Stargate.
They have the Stargate in Warehouse 13.
No, well,
No?
yes, but it's not in Warehouse 13.
No, it's in like Warehouse 1 or 2.
Oh, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
It's in Warehouse 2, and they have to disable Warehouse 2 to save Mrs. Francis. Miss Francis, or whatever her name is.
The director.
No,
Yeah,
well, yeah, like
yeah,
the old black lady.
Yeah.
She is so connected to the warehouse that when Warehouse 2 reactivates, because 3 young archaeologists go and find the entrance to Warehouse 2, it reactivates itself. And
And she is connected to it.
Pete and Micah ask what is in Warehouse 2 that's so important. And the first thing he mentions is the last Stargate.
The last Stargate. That implies there's more than one.
There was, yeah.
Not anymore. Yeah.
Oh.
So, like,
don't know, man.
there are references to them in pop culture other than...
SG-1. Yeah.
Other than the Stargate universe
Well,
itself.
people have been referencing Atlantis to the Stargate forever.
Well,
forever.
Atlantis is also referenced to everything, though.
Well, yeah, anything that's unexplainable comes from Atlantis.
Mm-hmm.
It does. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's where the Voynich manuscript came from, to tell you the truth. Everything comes from Atlantis.
So which one's the Voynich man? Oh, that's how... Oh, my God.
Yeah.
We got to do a show on the Voynich. We got to find somebody to come on the show and talk about the Voynich man.
Oh, got you covered.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So, for listeners that aren't familiar what the Voynich manuscript is, give us a 3-minute.
3 minutes? Holy
Yeah.
crap. Okay. So, the Voynich manuscript is basically this, like, booklet, I guess you would call it.
Kind of like the Emerald Tablet, isn't it?
Yeah. So, it's in an unwritten language. Nobody knows what it is. Some people think it's a codex. Some people think it's, I don't know. Everybody thinks something different about this thing. And people have been trying to figure out for years not only how old it is, what language it might be in, but they're also trying to figure out what it's all about. Because it has some of the weirdest, like, depictions.
It has
of things.
unknown plants.
It has unknown plants in it. It has, like, a bunch of naked women. It has technology in it. All different kinds of stuff in it that nobody can really figure out what it means or where it came from or anything really about it. They have no idea even what language it's in. There's tons of people all over the place. Right now it sits at Yale, and you can go in there and you can view pieces of it. You can go online and you can look up and you can get a whole PDF file of the Voynich manuscript. But people for years have been trying to decode it and figure out what language it's in and what it's actually talking about. But there's so many different things like that. Like, we got, the Emerald Tablets, you got writing all over the world that people can't figure out. Different books, different manuscripts, different stuff that they're just like, it's something.
Right.
But nobody can actually come up with what it is, how old it is, or where it came from. So a lot of people think that these items, because they're written in a similar-ish language, but not any that we know.
Right.
So a lot of people think that these are things that they found from Atlantis that are explaining different technologies and different things that they had there.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, you look at how many things in history there are still that we can't explain. Like, in Newfoundland, they found skulls that, with the new technology out there, they can actually identify as white men that predate Native history. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's insane.
Well,
at the same time, though, carbon dating is only so accurate. It's not 100%. By any means.
Yeah, that's true. We were here first. Quit it, Vikings.
Well, so the red-headed giants, they weren't Vikings. There's no way in hell they were Vikings. Vikings aren't even giants.
Well, maybe they were back then.
Maybe. But I don't see it.
Maybe they're... Who knows what they are, man? There are so many different things that people have found throughout the years that mysteriously go missing at some point. Most of them. So
that's a really valid point. So Jennifer says we sent the gold photograph record on Voyager 1. So imagine if you're an alien and you hear or you see this gold phonograph that comes up on Voyager 1. Maybe the same concept, possibly, is what we see today with some of these manuscripts.
It's a possibility. Written in a totally alien language, nobody understands or gets why it's there. It just is.
Right?
Mm-hmm. But, at the same point, though, there's been a lot of stuff that we've sent up in space. Mm-hmm. And if we're going on the timeline theory that you were bringing up, where there's different timelines, different points in time, different everything else, right? Mm-hmm. So let's say we sent up this record on Voyager 1. It went and it continued going. We don't know where it's at now. It's still somewhere out there, right?
Right.
Maybe it's already in somebody's museum somewhere. But, so we send this up. So let's say it goes through one of these time portals, okay? And some alien somewhere on some planet, somewhere in the universe, it crash lands on their planet. They look at this little golden disc, right? Well, maybe for them, this is 10,000 years in the past for us. So we just gave them the technology to be superior to us by the time that we're on the same growth one. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm. She says it's still interstellar space right now. Okay. So, can you imagine an alien version of SETI? Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden they pick up our phonograph.
Right.
How weird that would be.
Well, how many things have we picked up from space and went, what's that?
Right.
Okay. And how many of those things hang out in, I don't know, different hangars around the world? Let's say S4, for instance. I don't know. But...
All right, so on that note, it's time for our first break.
Okay.
It is 7:59.
It is, okay.
Wow.
First
already
hour.
That was great.
So don't forget to get your entries in to S4RadioWinner at gmail.com and send us your paranormal story before the end of the next hour. Here is Poltergeist with Cryptamnesia.
You are listening to S4 on Spreaker.com.
They say I'm evil, they say I'm dead inside. Check out my ego, cause I'm running here tonight. Just burn me like a witch, and watch as I catch fire. But I cannot die, I am your poltergeist. Try to kill me, but I cannot die. You try to ignore me, but I haunt you deep inside. You keep trying to kill me, but I cannot die. You try to ignore me, but I haunt you deep inside. They say I'm evil, they say I'm dead inside. Check out my ego, cause I brought it here tonight. Just burn me like a witch, and watch as I catch fire. But I cannot die. I am your poltergeist. Poltergeist, poltergeist. Poltergeist, poltergeist. Poltergeist, poltergeist. Poltergeist, poltergeist. I'll eat your dreams while you immerse in all of your hate. Just waste away like you're destined by your fate. I'll be alive but I'm dead to watch you die. So go ahead and take my life, I dare you to try it. You keep trying to kill me, but I cannot die. You try to ignore me, but I haunt you deep inside. You keep trying to kill me, but I cannot die. You try to ignore me, but I haunt you deep inside. They say I'm evil, they say I'm dead inside. Check out my ego, cause I brought it here tonight. Just burn me like a witch, and watch as I catch fire. But I cannot die, I am your poltergeist. Poltergeist, poltergeist. Poltergeist, poltergeist. Oh, poltergeist, poltergeist. Poltergeist, poltergeist. Oh, you're caving in, the loss of sleep keeps you obsessing on your pride. But in the end, you let me in. They say I'm evil, they say I'm dead inside. Check out my ego, cause I'm running here tonight. Just burn me like a witch, and watch as I catch fire. But I cannot die, I am your motherfucking. They say I'm evil, they say I'm dead inside. Check out my ego, cause I brought it here tonight. Just burn me like a witch, and watch as I catch fire. But I cannot die, I am your poltergeist. Poltergeist, poltergeist. Poltergeist, poltergeist. Oh, poltergeist, poltergeist.
Welcome back to S4 with your host, Eric Cooper.
And welcome back to S4. This is your Memorial Day weekend show. Tonight we are talking military and the paranormal.
Kinda.
In some roundabout ways.
Yeah,
we get off topic.
It's Memorial Day weekend. We are sitting here just discussing amongst ourselves various paranormal topics. But before we get back to that, if you are a veteran, you are feeling down, suicidal, depressed, the VA hotline number is 1-800-273-8255. Press 1. Or you can also text them at 741-741. Make sure, 22 suicides a day from our veteran population and active duty is one too many, let alone 22. So if you're feeling down, make sure you get help.
Definitely.
And on that, too, so if you've deployed and you were near the oil burn pits, or the burn pits, not just the oil burn pits, if you're near the burn pits, make sure you go on the VA's website and get registered in the burn pit registry. Please do. Because what's happening, especially in the last few years, is if you have a black spot on your body, it is a form of cancer that has been caused by the burn pit. Because, if you're familiar with Blod in 0405, I was like, I don't know, half a mile away from the burn pits. And they'd, just tossed in pesticides, plutonium, depleted uranium. They burned whatever the hell they grabbed up. And they, so, yeah, there's no EPA in a combat zone in a foreign country. There's no regulating it. And the crap they burnt in our burn pits, no, you were breathing it. You were soaking it in. In Doha, Kuwait, the oil well smoke that we were breathing in, I was picking tar out of every orifice in my body every night. And I'm not saying that to be gross. I'm saying that because it's damn reality. I was breathing that stuff. I'm not the only one. So, yeah, make sure you get checked out by the VA. Please do. I know I'm on the burn pit registry. We're, when you're talking about burn pits, we had them in Doha, Kuwait. We had them in Somalia. We had them in every base in Iraq, Afghanistan. It don't really matter where you were. And, it's not even a conspiracy that you had companies that were actually shipping their stuff to Iraq because they could burn it for free. Think Blackwater. Think Halliburton. That's not even a conspiracy. So yeah, get on the burn pit registry. I'm checking myself over all the time for black spots because I have pain in places I shouldn't have pain sometimes, like my arm. I haven't done anything to my arm, so I'm watching for black spots. Not to be paranoid, but I know soldiers that have black spots that have incurable cancer.
All right.
So,
I did look into this black night satellite, and it was explained.
Oh, it came from
before it became
Tokyo?
Well, before it honestly became a conspiracy theory, the information was released. It was discovered when they were first building the ISS, and 4 trunnion pin thermal covers that the U.S. had brought with them. They were attaching to a module created by the Russians, and the task was to put these 4 pins around it to prevent heat loss. One of the pins got away from their little claw thing that they have outside, or in that Canada claw.
And somebody reported it as a cigar-shaped UFO, didn't they?
Not a cigar shape. It just looks. It kind of has an S shape.
Oh God. Okay.
And it was reported by a bunch of different people, and it did fall from orbit and burn up.
It didn't burn up?
But it was just a blanket for this piece of the International Space Station.
Right.
That's what they want you to believe.
Yeah, that's what they want you to
Okay,
think.
but come on. Are you honestly telling me that everything that they've done at the International Space Station has went to plan.
No, of course not.
Oh, hell no. How many
But-
people?
Yeah,
how many
you-
people
Hey,
fly
are
to
we
the
ever
fucking-
going to hear about it?
You're
Of course
building
not.
You're building an item from IKEA. Okay. Are you going to lose parts? Of course you're going to lose parts, but you're losing them in space.
Yeah, and where do they go? They fall down.
Well, yeah, like
here.
that's the thing. That, like when they get far enough away, there's no way you're getting it back.
Nope.
Maybe in a couple of years when it rotates around again.
The claw's going to get it. No, not
Dude,
really.
okay, so the training for that claw, do you think it's just that weird little game where it like tries to grab shit?
No.
Like, how do you?
I've seen the training for that claw.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's actually you are in a full. It's like a VR game where you're in a full suit.
Well, they would have to be in a full suit because, training it in, a jacket and jeans, for example, versus being up in space in a full suit would be like night and day.
Yeah, and
You know.
so like one hand controls your movement of the arm,
Right.
and one hand controls your movement of the claw.
Huh. So you're just like, rah! And
Well, yeah,
you
it's
can make the
it's
claw like do stuff.
it's like working with bucket.
Oh.
Hey, Tim,
Okay.
good to see you in
Okay,
the chat
I
room.
got
Oh,
you.
we always miss you when you don't make it. You're one of our favorite listeners.
Hey. No listener discrimination.
So I've got a question. How far? So we have DARPA. We have all these different black...
What is DARPA?
The Defense Acquisition... oh, God. Don't...
Da-da-da.
No, Defense Advanced Research... I don't remember.
Isn't that the group that's in Lost?
Huh?
Isn't that the group that's in the show Lost?
DARPA?
Probably.
I don't know.
That's the only thing I know DARPA from. And
So
then the series of
DARPA
numbers.
is the one who does advanced technology for the military. How far do you think, using alien technology, they could have gotten? So years ago, when it comes to advanced technology, so being a mechanic, so for those that don't know my background, I was a combat medic for 4.5 years straight. Did Desert Storm, Operation Positive Force in Somalia. Got the hell out. Went back in. Had to switch my job. So I became a truck mechanic. Every unit I went, I was also a combat medic. So, as a mechanic in the battlefield, you have to troubleshoot a broken truck, right? Mm-hmm. Then you have to hope you have the parts to fix it. You don't always have the parts because you're in a combat zone. Go
Right,
on
so you
Iraq,
do
for
like some
example.
makeshift parts to try and make it go.
You might have that part in the supply system, but you've got to look in your manual. You got to find the part number. You got to, you know. So this is back in. They had a new system that we tested. We didn't get to fully test it because, well, it requires internet. But we had a laptop that they were issuing all maintenance facilities. So in theory, this is back in, oh God, this would have been, I want to say this was in Ilsheim, so this is 95 through 98. But this piece of equipment was set up, and it was a pain in the ass because there's 11 billion different little components to it. I'm sure they've modified that by now. But you could actually hook up this computer to your Humvee, and there's a different adapter for each piece of equipment you had. It would do a system check, troubleshoot your Humvee. Then it would tell you what was wrong with it.
Right.
Fine, in theory, it would have been a perfect system. It would bounce off satellites, find out which base in Iraq, for example, had that part, and order it for you.
Oh, cool.
Now, I never saw it actually in use at its full capacity because it never really made it very far, I don't think. But using that for example, how far do you think they've gotten?
Like, as far as like with alien technology and
Can you imagine? So, a few years ago, they were actually talking about this new dragon skin. dragon skin where you're walking across the desert and you're completely invisible.
Like new torque for that.
Well, let's start with tires, okay? So your tires on your Humvees.
Mm-hmm.
In the last 5 years, they have changed the tires out in the Humvees in certain areas.
Depends on your unit. Depends on how rapid deployment you are.
Yeah, I agree.
Example.
But they're no longer rubber.
What are they using now?
They are hardened polymer or hardened plastic. And they're
stupid.
honeycombed.
That's stupid.
No, it's not. These tires can actually survive an IED.
Okay.
That's the difference. They're so well honeycombed that it only takes one small strip and the tire can still go 90 miles an hour.
So when did the civilian sector start getting CTIS? So CTIS is a self-inflatable air system.
Oh, self-inflatable tires?
Yeah.
I want to say 7 years ago.
Which again, they all sucked anyway. So
Yeah.
7 years ago. So we had them in the Army in the 90s.
Because your tire is self-inflatable, but
So
you
you
still have
how
to really go
long,
inflate, or you have to go replace the tire eventually, and they were a lot more.
No. So the concept was, what are you gonna? You see the enemy coming down the road. What are you gonna shoot at? You're gonna shoot
The tire.
the tire. The inflation system was designed so you could keep on going. You just hit the inflate.
Right, so it was like basic fix-a-flat, except...
It's an air compressor that just keeps the air pumping through your tire.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
what they
gotcha.
still put in cop tires.
So, and it was stupid because it was a really weak system. Again, if you're going through snow, for example, you hit a button that says winter, and it deflates the tire so you have better traction in the snow.
Yeah.
But good luck getting it reinflated because, well, you can keep pushing the button and it didn't work half the damn time. But these are concepts that we tested in the military all the time.
But made in Taiwan.
Probably. Another one. So we had little solar panels that were about this big that hooked up to our batteries in our Humvees. And that's out on the hood. And it was supposed to be a trickle charge to always keep your battery charged up.
Yeah.
I'm not-
So like, when you guys got something, if it could be applied to civilians, civilian vehicles, it was usually about 10 years behind. Now, that being said, there are things that the civilians have gotten that can't be applied to your vehicle. Like, for example, 90% of the new concept cars are not just electric vehicles, but they are self-recharging. Every chunk of exposed body is
A solar panel.
a solar panel.
Yeah.
The problem with that is
Uh-huh.
you guys cannot rely on that. But the entire system takes so much room, you can't have a regular engine in the same vehicle. It doesn't work.
There's no way in hell we can fix it.
Well, not only that, but doesn't it seem like if a bunch of those solar panels got shot, I mean...
Yeah,
like,
if the
honestly,
vehicle got shot at, you're screwed.
You wouldn't be able to move. You'd be dead in the
We're
water.
in combat.
Like,
So it was and that is the new thing that they are trying to bring up.
Right.
The other new thing that they're trying to
Bulletproof
do,
solar panels?
like we are trying to move for. If you get the new concepts for trucks, they are moving to those tires that you guys have now, the polymer tires, where it's not rubber. There is no rubber.
See, and that's what sucks. Because again, it depends on which unit you're in, whether you get that technology. So, I've told you before, when we got to Iraq in 2004, as a signal unit, which is supposed to be top of the line because we run tactical satellite, we run internet, we run your phone lines, but we get to But we get to the Kuwait, and we have no armor.
It also depends on where you're deployed.
No, we're going into Iraq.
No, but the
We're
ones
second
in
wave.
Iraq aren't getting these tires.
They should.
No, they shouldn't. You
Why?
ever ran plastic against sand?
Well, and that was my.
It just sits there and
that,
spins.
that was kind of my argument with that was a stupid idea. It depends on where you're at.
So
Where are we going to go? China?
No, no, not funny. Let's not talk about China.
It might work good in China.
well, no,
But
like
where's our biggest combat enemy right now? Is in the Middle East.
It depends on what
paper, yeah.
station you listen to. And
It still is.
For-
You know, we were still training and we were still wearing green. In the 90s.
but a lot of it's not right now for combat areas. They're still figuring out ways to make those tires work in those areas, but a lot of it's for your R&D departments. They're the ones who have.
I think it depends on who's.
They always have to figure out where your next opponent is going to be, and they're already building weapons for that.
I think it
Yeah,
depends who's
Space
backing
Force.
it too.
just saying.
Huh?
It depends who's backing it too. When politics
Yeah.
gets involved with this shit.
Yeah.
Well, politics have been involved in this shit
Well,
since
and
the beginning
politics
of time.
Politics needs to get the hell out of the military. Because the Stryker, for example, they took the M1 Abram, the best battle tank in the military, out of the equation. So the M1 was designed to go 60 miles an hour and fire, and had a targeting system that could fire while it's going 60 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Best battle tank we ever got. But a certain politician who had stocks in a certain company said, "Oh no, we gotta get the Stryker." Well, the Stryker is great in urban environments. It's not good for mountain environments.
Yeah.
But you got certain politicians that want to make billions for themselves and push their vote into, yes, we got to get rid of the tank and go to the Stryker. The Stryker, coming from the civilians that worked on it, because we weren't allowed to touch it, it was all civilian contracted. Even coming straight from the civilians that worked on it, had the weakest damn transmission, had the weakest the whole concept was a shit.
Well, save
And
a
it was
buck where you can,
proven.
right?
Huh?
Save a buck where you can, basically.
Well, and it was proven they were using donkeys and carts in Afghanistan because they couldn't get the Stryker up a mountain road. They actually had to go back to Revolutionary War manuals to learn how to harness a donkey, for example. I mean, technology is only as good as the ones backing.
Gotta do a quick shout out to Dennis. Thank you for sharing all our stuff on all the social media. So thank you for that, Dennis.
Well, see, the other thing that... right now, all of the focus that you see in the news right now, everything as far as military is concerned that I'm seeing anyways, being a civilian, is all around Space Force and what missile is going to be made next and what... this or that. It's all about space and discovery and missiles and I got the super duper missile. Oh yeah, well I got the super duper duper missile. Okay, it's
There's a super duper duper missile now?
yeah, it's 18 times faster. No, but I mean, so
we've had a Space Force
we've had
behind
a
the
Space
scenes
Force forever.
long before the last year when they made it official.
Well, if you think about the original concept for Phase Force, it was somebody looking up at the sky and saying, "Hey, look at that! Right. We can harness that and use that for." I mean, it's been around since the beginning of time.
Which is why we need to get Corey Good on that. I'm working on getting Corey Good on the show because he has been involved with the original Space Force.
We need lightsabers.
No.
Yes.
No.
Just for me.
No. Oh, okay. We'll get you your very own lightsaber.
Izzy, I want a lightsaber. Make it happen, Captain.
You realize that this already exists, right?
That's going to go...
I don't care if it exists. I don't have one at my house.
But that's going to go in the same list as the Apache and the battle tank we want.
You can have your Apache and your battle tank. I want a Tesla coil, like a giant Tesla tower, and then you can just put it up in the backyard. Right?
She's got your lightsaber. I know which one she's talking about.
That's not funny.
It's even retractable.
Oh, jeez.
You talking about the retractable lightsaber, dear? Probably. You might have to fight Anthony for it, though.
I also gotta say happy anniversary to Eric and Izzy.
Oh,
I
yeah.
want to thank you. You know, and yeah, 11 years. 11 great years.
It makes her blue.
Oh, the lightsaber's blue.
Sure.
Oh, man. Okay.
So
with the technology, obviously there has to be a lot out there that they just haven't. It's not field tested, and it won't be for a very long time.
So Delta Force. Oh wait, Delta Force doesn't exist. Yeah, well, that's what they say anyway.
Yeah.
Well, we'll work on that, Dennis. We'll work on that.
I'll go pick up 750 clams that he can have.
No.
Clams? Yeah, we'll pay 750 clams.
You
But
just got to make sure they don't have red tide, because that would be wrong.
here's the deal with Delta Force. Delta Force is the top of the line. Delta Force actually pulls Special Forces, Rangers, Navy SEALs, and NCOs that go to combat into Delta Force. But to get into Delta Force, oh God, yeah.
Well, okay, but
they're
General?
so the resources they have, their support. That's what I'm trying to think of. Their support units that support them are the ones that are going to get the technology and field tested.
but it's still but it's still like, let's say someone develops this technology, whether they develop it from their own thoughts or from alien technology, let's say. Like, let's say this technology is developed in S4, in Area 51.
Right.
It's still going to be years for some of it before it ever gets out there, even for field tests.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
They have to work out almost all the bugs before they hand it to you. It's not they're not going to just hand you stuff that, well, it should work.
Right.
Friend.
So real quick, Dennis, no, Delta Force is not SEALs. Delta Force is how do you even describe them?
Combination force.
Delta Force is separate from the military. It consists of, you have to be selected for it. They contact you.
And you can be selected from all three
And
branches,
you
right?
can be selected from the Army, the Marines, the Air Force, the Navy.
4 branches.
Okay,
That's
so would it be kind of like, okay, and I don't mean any offense when I say this, but kind of like how they select like Men in Black or Kingsman in those shows?
No. So they look at your record, and they will pull from the Special Forces, the Navy SEALs, the
Okay, so it's like the best of the best, the A-team.
the MARCOM.
Yeah.
But not just them. They look at, you have to be an E5 or above to be selected.
Oh, okay.
And they will look at your record. So by the time I got selected, I'd already done 2 combat tours. I hadn't even gone to Iraq yet. This would have been back in Germany. And the reason I even know... well, we'll just say, this is shortly after 9/11. I was on gate guard. I was on installation security. And that was all I did for about 3 months. I had a 12-hour shift. I ran soldiers, and I was off for 24 hours. and I was back on gate. So I get a phone call. Sergeant Cooper, you need to be at the theater for a Delta Force brief. You've been selected. How the heck did you... Anyone that's been to the military know you don't just leave your gate, right? No, you don't leave your post. You don't leave... No. So I told him, you need to come and relieve me so I can go to this brief. Okay. Nobody showed up. I didn't go. I don't leave my post. No. Because we're talking real world mission. We're talking real world terrorists can come. They come into the gate and you're derelict of duty. You're going to prison. So I missed the briefing. So I get my ass chewed. Actually, I didn't, because the sergeant major and the colonel got their ass chewed because Sergeant Cooper was not at the Delta Force brief. So as they say, shit rolls downhill. And my platoon sergeant, an E7, came in and relieved me because I got selected, or I got told to go to this briefing a second time. So they actually came in and relieved me, an E7, to go to this brief. Well, I've been on gate for 6 months, all in all, between all the details I was on after 9/11, because at one point I had to ride school bus for the kids of the military, because being in Germany, they go to... how do you describe it's a normal school, but it's for military dependents in Germany. And it was on a base. So they were scared terrorists would target our kids. Likely threat. So I actually had to ride on the school buses with full battle rattle and loaded M16 to protect our kids. And that was before installation guard. So I haven't done any PT in a while because I'm tired. I'm doing shift. I'm going to sleep. I didn't even have time to play. So when I got told, your PT test, which is your physical fitness test, is tomorrow. I'm like, okay. Out of 100 people that went to this Delta Force brief, only me and one of the guys showed up. Nobody else was interested. So I'll go into that in a minute. So this was a unique PT test because, normally you get down, you do your push-ups, nobody touches you, they just watch you break the plane. These guys actually put their hand on your elbow to make sure you are locked out for each and every one. And I had to do 52 to pass. So I did my 52 push-ups. I had to do 63 sit-ups. And I think I did 62 and I couldn't get up no more. So I failed my sit-ups by one. But, then I would have had to run 2 miles in 15 minutes, and I probably wouldn't have made that either. And then you have to actually swim back and, both ways across an Olympic-sized swimming pool with a full pack on and your boots and uniform. I wouldn't have made that. No, I don't swim.
So Dennis wants to know, with NDAs or classified missions, would that be Delta Force or Navy SEALs?
That would be Delta Force.
Wouldn't it depend on the type of mission?
Depends on the mission. Honestly, I don't know who knows about Delta Force. When it comes to missions, I'm sure the DOD does.
First rule of Delta Force, we don't talk about Delta Force.
No, to be completely honest, I never even heard of Delta Force really until I was selected.
He's asking about the INTEB case. Read that, because I can't read.
No, you're absolutely right. So, if you're in Delta, you're on a 5-man team. I'll say that much. And yeah, you're absolutely right. You will not know they're Delta. They pick their own uniform. Like we were told, you can pick whatever uniform you want. You can have a beard. As long as you all have the same uniform on your 5-man team, it don't matter. They live in a compound. On a military base. If, for example, I'm Delta Force and Izzy gets sick while I'm on a mission, a doctor goes to our house. That's how well they're taken care of.
I'm just thinking, you can pick any uniform as long as you're all wearing the same uniform.
You think it's Star Wars? Really?
Well, no. I was actually thinking 5 guys running around in Ronald costumes.
Okay.
It could happen.
Yeah,
again,
I think they're talking about service
maybe
uniforms, but
no, really. At the clown convention.
If you want to wear a SWAT uniform, you can all wear a SWAT uniform. Nobody's going to know who the hell you are because you all say SWAT.
Oh, so
or
these
whatever.
are the guys that just randomly come in and you're like, where are you from? And they're like, we're here to help.
Yep.
Okay.
Those would be
Yeah, I
them.
got you.
So, and I hate bringing this up because it brings up bad memories, but Black Hawk Down, for example. I can't remember his name in the movie, but the one at the very end that gives the really awesome speech about we do it for our brother, he was Delta Force.
Well,
I think, Dennis, when it says they're not supposed to wear any identifying clothing, I think that means to identify them as Delta Force.
No, you're not going to see the identifying marks on them.
Like, they can identify as a branch of the military,
Yep.
but not...
You won't know who they are. And they will, yeah.
And they're
And I'm sorry, if someone says, I'm Delta Force, yeah, bullshit, they're not, because they won't tell you.
unless they're on their deathbed, then maybe they were.
They might. But they are their own branch. Their driver's training is from NASCAR. Think of the elite of the elite. Special Forces is elite. I will never talk shit about Special Forces or Rangers or any of them because they are elite.
but they're the elite of each
But-
team of elite.
Exactly.
Right? Okay.
Exactly.
All right.
And again,
They honestly shouldn't be trained by NASCAR. What if they have to do a left turn?
so they do offensive, not just defensive training.
But then they're screwed.
Yeah.
So these are the guys that get to know all of the cool stuff that
Oh,
everybody
God,
else
yeah.
just kind of
Well,
speculates.
They're
on.
the ones. They're the ones that literally have no budget.
But
They
to
have a blank check for anything they want to do.
So that's where that extra couple of...
But it's to a point.
$1 trillion
Like that
is
is so compartmentalized that you only know what's prudent to you.
Well, and see, I think it's the same way with like the presidents of the United States. Okay, I am damn sure that some of them know a hell of a lot more than others do. Like as far as different things that have happened in the world, different, like if aliens exist or if this or that. I'm sure that some of them got like a full "here's everything," and others got like a "hey, yeah, you can't go there," you know.
So, Dulce Wars, for example, I'm pretty damn sure it's probably Delta Force that got their asses handed to them by aliens.
Okay.
So, combat missions, yeah, they might be the ones that go in, and all of a sudden you hear in the news about the assassination of the president of Bolivia.
That's not saying anyone's going to assassinate the president of Bolivia.
No, not at all. But
And if they do, we have nothing to do with it.
But they're the ones that are behind the scenes doing political moves for the country that we don't even know about.
And
They're the ones that they might call in for a hostage retrieval.
so, how do you get on their like
Yeah.
secretarial team? Because
You have to be, again, they contact you.
I would imagine that would still be an A5, right?
They contact you. You don't
But
contact
like you
them.
have to be fairly up even on the secretarial teams to do
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
kind of work.
No.
so no civilians at all. Like they would only pick branch members. Then.
I wouldn't have passed the psychiatric test either because you have to have a top secret or the highest level security clearance to even be on their team. They're going to do a personality test of you. If you even remotely look like you're the type that's probably going to disclose secrets, you're probably not going to make it to Delta.
Yeah, you ain't getting it.
Hey, man, I don't want to be
Now-
on no Delta Force.
The reason I brought that up was because if you were E4 or below, you weren't necessarily counted out. You could be on their team that plays with engines, for example, and uses technology that, or does experimental stuff on gear, on engines, on. You go play in in a shop that's beyond your beyond your dreams.
So it's like Eureka style.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
If you're a gearhead, that would be the shop you want to be in.
Nice. Okay, so here's the thing that I've always honestly wondered. Okay, so everybody is constantly saying there's this secret organization, there's that secret organization, there's so many damn secret organizations that you don't know if anybody's in any of them or what. Right? So, how can you have all of these huge secret organizations with... It's got to be over 1 million people in all of these. Mm-hmm. But not a damn person is going to say anything about them.
That's the curious part, too. With we've had alien technology since at least the 40s. Probably earlier than that. But how do they keep that under wraps so well? They kill them.
Well, I mean, people go missing all the time,
yeah,
right?
They either kill them, or all of a sudden you've got child porn on your computer. In the case of, I can't remember his name, Dave did a show on him. But he had...
Okay, so they shut you up.
Oh,
so
yeah.
no matter what happens, you're going to get shut up.
They will ruin your credibility. Look at Bob Lazar.
Right, so that's why most of these people don't come out with any information until they're in their 80s or 90s and pretty damn close to deathbed.
What are you going to do to me?
And then everybody states, oh, well, they have Alzheimer's or they have this or that. Okay. You know, but I'm just saying, it seems like with the amount of people that are actually involved in these things, that at least something would be... But
that's also, and I've said this on the show before, some of these researchers and some of these shows that come out and say, I've got a military insider. I'm sorry, but when I was in, if I knew something secret, that's where I go to the bar, or my soldiers come to the house, whatever, and we talk about it amongst ourselves. We're not going to go with some random paranormal researcher and tell him our deepest secrets.
Yeah.
They don't do that.
Yeah. Okay.
The threat of prison is enough to shut most of them up, especially an enlisted soldier.
Right. Either prison or death or going away for a seriously long time to somewhere that nobody knows about. Yeah. Okay, I got you.
That's for most of them. When it comes to... So when you look at the different branches, I would say the ones with the most secrets would be the Air Force and the Navy.
Well, and Dennis asked what the Canadian equivalent was, and it's Joint Task Force 2.
Okay.
That is our special operations unit within the Canadian Armed Forces.
Would they be equivalent to Special Forces, Rangers?
These are the guys no one talks about.
Yeah, they'd be more like Delta
No one knows what they do. They're the ones that are polite in their own way.
Polite in their own way? Yeah.
So would they...
They'll shoot you, but they'll say sorry.
Okay. Are they the ones who come to you to join them?
Huh?
Are they the ones that come to you to join them? You don't go looking for them?
I honestly don't know how they collect their soldiers. I have no idea.
Okay.
That's not advertised either.
So these would have been the people in the rowboat during the War of...
Well, no, those were British.
Well,
like the War of 1812, we were still under British Dominion, and so those were British soldiers, and yeah.
Okay.
So in the military, when you get TDY or tour of duty pay, you go on you go to a school or something, you submit your paperwork to get reimbursed. It usually takes about a week or two. Delta Force, it takes 24 hours.
Well, they're probably paid before they get home.
And their missions are usually roughly 2 weeks. So again,
well, I mean, everybody's...
For example, if Izzy goes to the mall while I'm on a mission, and the car breaks down, they go pick
Somebody
up the
shows
car.
up, yeah.
But they go pick up the car, they take it back to our own compound and repair it. They take... When you compare the two with with Delta, for example, with the Army, they take care of the families, because if they take care of the families, the soldier's going to be able to focus on the mission.
Not just that, but like you're also relying on that family to also keep secrets.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, because I'm sorry,
they don't want them to know when those people are out.
We'll just say, had I passed the PT test and I passed their tests, I was going to be packed up and gone from my unit the next day. and they wouldn't know where I went. That's how fast
Life
you
would
go.
probably be totally different. I don't think you'd be here.
I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I'd probably be dead.
Wow, let's not go that far. Jesus Christ.
No, in all fairness, the missions they go on, look at the Dulce Wars. They didn't survive that one.
Or did they?
No.
What if they just...
Philip Schneider and the other witness were the only two that made it out of that whole war alive.
Well, okay. I am going conspiracy theory on this.
No,
one.
no,
I
get it.
What if identities changed, bionics were used, and they actually did survive, but now they're no longer them.
Real quick, yeah, and they're clones. So, and that's not rude at all. What's the IQ requirement? So, one, to be in the military, you have to have, at least when I was in, you had to have a GT score of at least a 110 or above.
Mm-hmm.
So, your IQ equivalency would be average to high to begin with.
Yeah.
And again,
yeah.
I don't know what the requirements are now. I'm sure they've lowered them.
Well, I mean, technically, okay, so with IQ, anyways, it's a completely flawed test. First of all, I'm going to throw that out there. It is. Because all the things that they take into account aren't.
Right.
But with an IQ test, you have to be 70 or above to not be considered mentally disabled.
Right.
Okay. So anyone with an IQ of 70 and lower by the IQ standards would be considered mentally disabled.
What is that test you have to take for your military?
That's the ASVAB.
The ASVAB. So
Yeah.
that's the test they would look at.
Yeah, the ASVAB is what determines your GT score. And that's general, I'm not sure, general technical.
Yeah, because, and you
It's
can...
a 5-hour test. That test is rough.
That's the thing. You could have average intelligence, but if you are just a pure killing machine who is smart enough to be able to keep a secret, you could make it.
No, and so again, I'm not saying anything to downgrade anybody.
No.
But infantry does not have so much of a GT
No.
equivalency.
No, but
They
you
really
wouldn't
don't.
have to. You wouldn't have to.
No,
Because
they're trained land av. They're trained. You go here. Here's the map. This is where your target is. Take them out.
Yeah.
Well, that's like in any job, not just in the military, but in any job. There are certain jobs that whether you have an IQ of 160 or you have an IQ of 85, you could do that job.
Now, the GT I'm talking about, where you had to have a 110 above, that applied to medics. That applied to, I'm sure, your intelligence, your maintenance, any of your technical skills. Had to have a higher than normal or higher than average GT.
Well, I think, as far as IQs go, your average American has an IQ somewhere around 105.
Right.
Right. Anything above the, 115 is starting to get into the above average IQs, and so on and so forth.
And real quick, so Dennis, the Secret Soldier program, now that's a completely...
J-Ron.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry, J-Ron. Yeah, the chat screen flipped.
Sorry.
So, J-Ron, the Secret Soldier program, that's completely different. That is... So, the Secret Soldier program was something they developed where they actually... In some cases, we've heard they picked soldiers with specific traits. They picked children with specific traits, and they actually raised them to be soldiers. That is a part of the Secret Soldier program. They were actually given drugs. They were given shots. They were given enhancements. There you go.
Yeah.
That's got nothing to do with Delta, Special Forces, and Ranger. That's a clandestine, top secret program, not a unit. Now, do they have a Secret Soldier unit now? I don't know.
When you say it, I think
Maybe.
of a Where's Waldo book for terrorists.
Right?
Where's the secret soldier? What?
Well, I mean, if you think of different governments around the world and different types of testing that were going on in so many different facilities throughout World War One.
I can't even see you.
Yeah, I know, right? Throughout World War One and World War II, there were some pretty messed up things happening to people. I mean,
I'm laughing at Dennis's comment. So, yeah, I can guarantee they weren't taught how to cook.
Well,
I mean,
but that's
not
the thing.
necessarily.
I would imagine with missions like that,
we have
some of them would be expected.
No, but we have an MRE cookbook. Have you ever heard of the MRE cookbook?
No.
Oh my God! So if you take, for example, we've done it all. If you take the hot chocolate mix and mix it with the powdered creamer, you can actually make chocolate pudding. I mean, there's certain things out of a whole case of MREs you can actually make. My favorite was taking the chicken and rice, mixing it with the cheese sauce, and yeah. And then, of course, there's the MRE wine. We made that in Somalia. And that's where you take a bottle of water, and I don't condone anybody to do this. But you take your MRE dehydrated peaches, you mix it, crush it up into the bottle of water, and you take they actually make MRE bread. And you crumble that in the same bottle of water, you cap it, and you sit it in the sun. Now, every day you have to go release the gas,
pressure. Mm-hmm.
and you let it sit in the sun for 2 weeks. Then you take it out and you strain the bread. The bread makes your yeast. Makes great wine.
Sounds delicious.
Well,
that's like poor man peach schnapps.
What Dennis
right?
is saying about them being fantastic chefs, the thing is, with some of these guys, you would imagine that some of their missions, like you said, they're not required to wear a uniform as long as they're all wearing the same stuff.
Right.
They're made to blend into the background a lot. Not every mission is going to be out in a dirty little field house.
Well, no, they could have been chefs before they got selected to Delta Force, too.
Yeah, but their mission could require some of them to learn those type of skills in order to blend in. You never know. That's
okay. Let me explain something. Delta Force weren't spies.
No, but
they were killing units.
Yeah. But if you're, like you said,
yeah, but you're not expecting your caterer to assassinate you.
If you're trying to assassinate the president of Belgium, or Bolivia,
or whatever,
how do you get to him? You blend in. You just got to prove enough skills in order to actually blend in.
And absolutely, but usually what they do is they get intelligence. They find out where they're traveling, and they're going to take them out in a convoy.
That's not always possible, is what I'm saying.
Not always, but they find out what the schedule is going to be, and they pick the best schedule that's going to be the most advantageous.
Yep.
Just saying.
No, totally. But I can't imagine that every mission would be exactly the same, and you're going to learn skills that aren't soldiery.
Dennis is going to watch his next waiter very carefully. I wouldn't worry.
Damn
about it. Damn right. So as far as Jaron wanted to know about snipers and getting gun parts, that doesn't. The way they manufacture weapons these days, yeah.
Thank you, Izzy.
Oh man,
I'm not going to jail anymore.
If I wasn't on a watch list before, now.
So and I will read that. S4 does not condone or endorse assassination of any political leader of any country, including but not limited to Belgium and Bolivia.
Well, do we have to say all of them?
Whoa!
What?
Hey. Oh my God! You know what? You're the reason we're gonna get a knock on the door.
We're
it's not gonna be me.
No knock on the door.
It's gonna be a knock on the door. I'm sure.
Oh Jesus!
But so in any typical team, and this includes special forces, Rangers, they are usually a 5-man team. You have your weapons expert, you have your medical, which is in special forces. is usually an 18 Delta. So in Black Horse, my chief over us was an 18 Delta from Vietnam. He was in the Vietnam War. I consider it a war. It was. So in Black Horse, we actually got taught a lot higher level medical skills than the normal Army unit does, because we were actually doing IVs, for example, with night vision goggles on. We were actually, just for fun, for shits and giggles, our medics would go out, get drunk on the weekends, get back in the room, and stick IVs in themselves to rehydrate.
I have a quick question.
What?
How often do you guys actually wear the night vision goggles?
We did it for driving. We did it for...
Did you ever see something that shouldn't have been there?
No.
I'm wondering, because it is a different type of lens that you're using.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Absolutely. But no, back then I wasn't really looking for paranormal, so I could have and I wouldn't even know it.
Yeah. Okay.
But it really sucked driving with NVGs on, because there is no spatial recognition. So you've got to stay in the middle of the road, which is usually white, with NVGs on, and the ditch is in the dark. It's going to be black.
Okay, so it gives you like total tunnel vision. Then.
Pretty much. But I mean, again, you can't see where the ditch is, because there's no space. There's no
right
spatial. So on Humvees, on our military vehicles, there's what's called night vision or blackout lights. And so when you're driving, there's just these little pinhole lights, so you can actually see the truck in front of you through the NVGs.
Huh.
The enemy won't. Well,
Okay.
in theory,
Yeah.
unless they got NVGs on. But
Huh. Interesting. So it would be kind of like putting a blinder on, like how you put a blinder on horses where they can only see.
well, not just
Directly.
that, but it's like it's like seeing pitch black in daylight. They're night vision. They make everything daylight.
All right.
Like, I was just thinking, like, you know how night vision cameras on security systems will pick up an orb, an actual orb, in a different way.
Well, when you've got NVGs on, it's not like a stationary camera. A stationary camera that's night vision is going to see that stuff passing by.
Yeah.
When you've got NVGs on, they're so uncomfortable.
Well, I'm assuming that you're also paying really close attention to where you're driving and what you're doing, that you don't really have time to see anything that wouldn't.
Well, whether you're
pertain to
driving, whether
that.
you're sticking an IV, whether you're focused on the task at hand. That's why you're wearing the NVGs on, or NVGs. And sitting on tower. So if you're on tower guard, for example, you got NVGs. Because when I was on Tower 32 in Iraq, we had, nothing but a pitch black farmer's field in front of us with a village, about half a mile in front of us. And then one of the side gates was over here.
Okay.
So it's still about a mile away to the gate, but you can see the main approach. You can see the main road coming into it. And, like the night I watched three explosives go off, I can only imagine what our soldiers were dealing with, because it blew them up.
Yeah.
It's one of those things.
And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to go to our third break. Make sure you got about 5 minutes if you want to get a paranormal story in to us at s4radiowinner@gmail.com. We will be back in about 5 minutes for our third hour. Here is Hell Within from Crypt Amnesia.
You are listening to S4 on Spreaker.com.
Welcome back to S4 with your host, Eric Cooper.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to S4 for our third hour. We are going to start off with our paranormal story of the week. So, this week's story comes from Sam. It says, my mother said that when she was 7 years old, she had seen an orangish light out of the backyard, and it had been calling to her, so she went to see what it was, and woke up the next morning in the yard with a really bad headache and a nosebleed. My grandparents took her to the hospital, and they ran tests, and told them it was most likely just sleepwalking, and she must have bumped her head. I never thought much of the story till 5 years ago when I woke up around 5 a.m. to head to work, and my then 7-year-old daughter was not in her bed. I frantically looked for her all over the apartment, but she was gone. I called the police, and she was found in a soccer field not far from our house, with a bad headache and a nosebleed. She told the cops and my wife and me that it was the orange light that called her name that made her go to the field. We took her to the hospital, and they told us she had most likely been sleepwalking and bumped her head on something.
It sounds like a typical generational abduction to me.
Absolutely. Like, there's not much telling me that one's going to be anything but that.
Yep.
So, hold on one second. If you guys want to talk about that a little bit more.
So, I mean, okay, so with a story like that, right, what would be the nosebleed portion?
The nosebleed's common with the implant.
Oh, okay.
Oftentimes they put the implant in the nasal cavity.
So is that how they were tracking, like, the generational?
That also depends on when this happened, how many years ago, because back in the 90s is when it was the most common.
Well, I think it's in there 5 years ago.
5 years ago?
When his daughter was...
They're still doing it, but a lot of times you'll find the implants are actually behind the ear. They're at the base of the neck. It depends on the implant. Depends on the.
Well, I guess it would depend on the race.
Depends on the race. Depends on
with the orangish glow.
So that reminds me of the.
That reminds me of up here, actually.
That reminds me of my first UFO encounter in Germany, and it was an orange orb. It looked like a basketball, and it was weird.
Now, did the one in Germany that you saw? Did it call your name, or did it make you feel like?
Not at all. And, again, I wasn't really into UFOs at that point. I was into the abduction side starting in 94. But that was my first UFO encounter. And, again, it looked just like... So you seen the Nuremberg, the Battle of Nuremberg?
Oh, absolutely.
16th century, I think it was either... Was it 12th or... No, it was 16th century. It looked just like that orb. Now, Kissingen, which is where it was over, is only about driving time 45 minutes from Nuremberg. So you're talking the same sky.
Did it say where that location? Like, what state?
No, I don't have a location for that. I want to say Washington.
Okay.
Why?
Because I remember the story of a girl in a soccer field.
Do you?
I remember a girl going missing and them finding her in a soccer field. I want to say Edmonds.
Okay.
But I might be wrong. That might be a totally different one.
Totally different one, yeah.
But, again, I also don't want to give up their location. So.
No, absolutely not.
But, alright, so we've got our winners on the wheel.
Drum roll, please.
Vivian, you won. So we will be sending you a S4 swag bag, complete with a mug and a few other things. So thank you very much, everyone, for entering. We will see you next week with that. Next week is the last week of May.
It is.
So
which means we have
a giveaway.
It is our final giveaway. We have an extra large swag bag, and everyone's name goes back in the hat.
Absolutely.
But with that, Sam, I'm going to be, Vivian, I'm going to be getting your address from you this week. Last week's winner, Jefferson, I still don't have your email. or your address. I need that sent to me. I will be trying to get a hold of you 2 more times. After that, if you don't do it, we will draw 2 next week.
Okay, sounds good to me. And again, for our military, if you are having suicidal thoughts, if you are depressed, if you are having any kind of issues, the VA crisis line is 1-800-273-8255. Press 1. Or you can also now text them. And you will actually, if you send a text message, you will get a real person texting back to you. And the text number is 741-741. So this is our Memorial Day show. So we are, having PTSD, having anxiety. Please, we lose 22 veterans in the military to suicide a day. That is way too high. And I know personally 2 military. One was a soldier of mine, and the other one I went to high school with was a dear friend of mine. They both committed suicide. So it is near and dear to my heart. Make sure you call if you need to talk to someone.
I know one very well that happened a couple of years back. So
anyway, 18 Delta is the Special Forces Medic Designator. So when I was in the Army, combat medic was a 91 Bravo. That's your job identifier. And then they switched it to 68 Whiskey. Now, I'm not sure if it's still 68 Whiskey or not. But 18 Delta was a Special Forces medic. So on all 5-man teams, they have one that's a medic. They have one that is a weapons specialist. They're the one that is trained in how to fix, repair any kind of weapon that's broken. They're the ones that are trained. They're the ones that you go to fix it. You have one that's signal, or the commo guy. He's the one who carries the radio. He's the one who transmits messages back and forth, does relays. Then you've got your team leader. Mm-hmm. And then you've got, I'm trying to remember, I believe the 5th one is your, how do you even, they're the one that is trained in geopolitical. So these teams are trained to help fix the politics of a country. So while you've got Delta Force and some teams are trained, they'll go in behind the scenes and they'll take out a political leader because they're being a dictator, they're doing genocide, things of that nature.
Now, so
they'll go in and restructure the government.
So in these type of forces, I didn't hear anything about an interpreter there.
They usually have one.
Would that be an extra that they would pull in for said mission, depending on what language it was? And
they might pull in a military interpreter.
Oh, okay.
But oftentimes, like when we were in Iraq, we had an interpreter. Mm-hmm. That was...
But that wouldn't necessarily be a main staple of that group. It would just be for whatever task at hand.
And again, it depends on where the mission's going to be. They might actually pull, a team member that is actually fluent in that in that mission's locale.
So, for instance, if your radio guy also speaks Spanish and you're going to a Spanish-speaking country, you would use him as your interpreter,
right?
And not pull an outside,
right?
Okay.
Because anytime you pull an outsider in, you've got that level of trust.
Right, but I'm just saying, as far as being able to understand the language, you'd have to have somebody that spoke it.
But think of the team as a family. You pull an outsider in, you're going to lose that level of trust.
Right, the dynamic changes entirely.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, by all means, if they have another Delta or they have another Special Forces member that's fluent in that language, you'll pull him into that team.
Well, I'm assuming with how large of an organization that it would have to be, that there would be at least one person fluent in pretty much every language. Like, as far as...
And the bonuses they get? So, I'm trying to think of the name of that school. So they actually have, Islamic or Muslim-speaking individuals will have a heavy recruitment in the U.S. military.
Right.
And they'll send them to a school. And they can get bonuses up to, I think, at one point, I'm sure it's not now, but at one point they had bonuses up to $10,000.
Well, I mean, we do that with every country that we're going into, or every area that we have large conflicts in. We recruit people of a specific language in order to, keep as many as we can. We did like the Wind Talkers in the Cherokee language for coding and stuff. So, yeah, I could see where...
And generally speaking, when they get pulled into the military, they'll have to sign a longer contract, whereas a normal contract is 4 years. They might have to commit to 8 years, because their school alone takes a year out of that contract. It's a year-long school. So I know, years ago, 91 Charlies, which were nurses, had a 1-year school. Whereas to be a combat medic, we were 10 weeks.
Oh, okay.
2 of that weeks was straight National Register EMT. Now, you have to have your EMT license already before you go in.
Oh, okay.
I think.
Okay.
I don't know. Those those standards change all the time. So I don't know. The one to ask me Will, because I'm not sure if Will had to go in with his EMT or not.
I know that. So I had a buddy that I knew back in high school. He went in. He's in the Navy, however, and he went into the Navy, became a medic. Came out of the armed forces, went and did schooling, and now he owns a private clinic and has his doctorate. But he didn't have any formal medical training at the time of going in.
How long ago was that?
He's been out now for 2-3 years.
Oh, okay, that's recent.
Yeah.
So, and again...
Like, fully out. Like, he only did...
No, but when did he go in?
Let's see, that would have been 2004 or 5.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know, as far as the Army goes, they're required EMT back then. Because, when I went through school, it was 1990. And we didn't have to have anything.
So, yeah, I just know that in that year, for the Navy anyways, in that he didn't have any formal training before.
Now, to be a medic, if you passed your EMT, great. You're an EMT as well as a combat medic. It really didn't matter. It didn't affect whether you're going to be a combat medic or not. Whether you passed your EMT was just a plus. It was a bonus. But, so nothing against Navy. I heard this straight from Navy Corpsmen. Navy Corpsmen consider themselves weak compared to the Army medics because of our schooling. Well,
I mean, if you have to have your EMT before you go in, then you already.
No, this is back in 90.
Oh, okay.
This is back in 90, and I can't remember how long they said their school was. They were taught how to put a Band-Aid on, and that was about it. Coming from them. I know their standards are way lower as far as when we were in Somalia. We were across a parking lot from the Marine medical tent, which was obviously Corpsman running it, and they weren't allowed to drive off post at night. So we had to actually go over to their clinic to pick up their evac patients to run them off the base.
Okay. All right. So different set of rules for different branches of...
Right. And, but that's when they even told us, you guys have way more higher tech equipment than we do, and you're trained a lot better than we are. They actually, they were leaving, so they brought their ambulance over to us and unloaded a whole bunch of, Band-Aids and gear and whatnot.
Well, isn't every branch of the military for different uses, though, too? So, I mean... Wouldn't the Army, in that sense, is more boots on the ground, right? Than the Navy would be. So there would be a higher need for more training?
Well, when it comes to corpsmen, they could be working on a ship or on the ground.
Okay.
But yeah, usually when you think Navy, you do think more on boats. I could say that.
It's a vessel.
It's a vessel. No, it's a boat. But just like in the Army, this is my weapon, this is my guy.
So what would the equivalent for the Air Force be then?
Huh?
The Air Force, do they have their own EMT and their own medics too?
I believe so, because I know most of our medics didn't work Air Force. But, looking today, you'll see Fort Lewis and McChord, for example, combined bases.
Right.
So
there seems to be a lot more overlap there than there is with the Navy.
There's more overlap because, we jump on Air Force planes. Air Force transports us, whereas it's the Navy that transports the Marines.
Okay. And then, so because I'm not really, I don't know much about this.
No, that's fine.
So paratroopers, is that a branch of the Army or a branch of the Air Force?
Jumpers can be Army or Marines.
Oh, okay. Okay, so they're Air Force or Army.
That's just so airborne is its own designator.
Navy. They can be any branch.
I don't think we have any airborne in the Navy.
Oh, okay.
But airborne is usually Army.
Yeah, no, there's not.
Where
are they going to jump to? The ocean?
Right.
Well, I mean, wouldn't you have to be able to get on to the ships and stuff?
But
the airborne works with the Navy.
Okay.
But they are not a part of the Navy.
No, airborne is the Army.
Yes. They do work with them, like they are transported.
It depends on the mission.
Yes.
So is the Green Beret still in existence, or is that something that happened back in the day? Now
Green Beret is funny. So yes, Green Berets do exist. Okay. They're still here today. But when you talk propaganda, the Iraqi propaganda was if anyone had a Green Beret, they had eaten a baby.
Oh, jeez.
That's
so
disconcerting.
Just like we had Wiley X sunglasses.
Mm-hmm.
We had Surefire flashlights. I mean, we're given top of the line, higher priced equipment. But the Iraqis again were told that those Wiley X sunglasses we've got are X-ray vision. So they're actually looking at your women through the clothes.
Oh, jeez.
It's really stupid. Rangers now wear tambray.
Okay.
And they have for quite a few years. They're kind of pissed off because the Army took over the black beret, and the black beret used to be the Rangers' color.
So now I know that the new version, anyways, of the Space Force is part of the.
It's part of the Air Force.
It's part of the Air Force.
Right.
Yeah. So is Space Force more of its own entity, or is it just another job class within the Air Force? Then
I haven't even looked.
Okay.
But from the sounds of it, they have their own guide on. They have their own emblem. I would say they're their own.
Like they're their own, but under an encompassing branch of.
Right.
Okay.
So
it would be like the Army, and then the Army Rangers, right? Where they're part of the same thing, but they're a different entity of the same thing.
Essentially.
Okay.
But it makes more sense for the Space Force to be with the Air Force because the Air Force is always doing that.
Yeah.
If anyone was already in space, it would be the Space Force.
Right.
The Air Force.
The Air Force. Yeah.
So it makes sense.
Have you seen that flag? Okay, because I know that they just did the reveal of the flag and everything else, and I hadn't seen the emblem for it before. Mm-hmm. I hadn't seen it. I hadn't looked it up. I hadn't thought about them having their own emblem and everything else. So when it came into the news, about a week ago now? Maybe a little over a week ago.
It's longer than that, isn't it?
Where he unveiled the new Space Force flag.
Right.
The second that flag got unveiled, I started cracking up. I couldn't help it. Because I am a huge Star Trek fan. Okay? And this is Star Trek. This is their emblem with our saying on it.
Right.
Like, it was so almost exact that I'm like, wow.
So who copied who?
Well, seeing as though Star Trek has been around since...
But who's to say our Space Force wasn't really predating Star Trek?
Oh, our original Space Force? Oh, most likely.
That's what I mean. Who is copying who?
Yeah.
The chicken or the egg?
Well, all I know is if they come out, seriously, if they had tried to make the Space Force uniform a red shirt, I would quit immediately.
Well, okay.
I'd be like, well,
here's the thing. Their symbol, well, you think it may be stolen from Star Trek?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't.
No, it's really Star Wars.
No. That actually is a military symbol from before NASA.
Okay.
That was stolen for Star Trek.
Oh, okay, so it did come from the military, then it went to Star Trek, and then it came back to the military?
He based his symbol for Starfleet off of a military symbol based off of NASA.
Yeah.
This is pre-NASA, like before the actual NASA was...
Right.
So,
TR3B days.
Okay, so Gene Roddenberry was the one that was like, oh, look at this.
That's what it's called, the Delta symbol.
Yeah. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you.
And yes,
Delta symbol, Delta Quad. Oh, man, Star Wars is starting to make more sense.
You mean
Star Trek. Oh, my gosh.
Good job.
Yep, I did that.
Hey, Dennis, if you could, post that article in the chat room.
I don't know. All I know is that I was like,
I don't keep track of that. I honestly don't. I do enough just getting research done for S4 and getting out of bed in the morning sometimes. But
so
you watched every Jurassic Park. Don't even.
That was 2 weeks ago. and now I'm binge watching Blacklist. Yeah.
Really, I don't know what it is about Blacklist, but I could not get into it.
You need to get into it because so much of it is in so much parallel to the government today.
Oh my god, what is
that's the problem. I'm not into the governmental shows. Unless it's White House.
Whatever, you watched
the White
Madam
House.
Secretary.
Yeah, if it's about the White House, I'm way into it. Friend, that building fascinates me.
But Blacklist shows the corrupt side of the dark side of the government.
I think it's the guy. I don't like him.
Oh, Redigan?
Yeah, you know what?
I don't like the
that
actor.
might be my problem, too. Because I was like, oh, God.
It's the same with Project Blue Book. It wasn't a bad show. But I absolutely hate that guy.
I need to catch up on that.
The problem is, he played, for me,
really
the first thing I saw him in was Game of Thrones, and he played Littlefoot, and he was this absolutely sinister little rat-like creature.
Oh, yeah.
I hated him.
You hated his character, not him as a person.
Oh, no, I kind of hate him as a person, too.
Oh, okay.
That carried over for the next show.
Okay.
Well, it's kind of like anything that you see freaking Daniel Radcliffe in. You're like, oh, look, it's Harry
Potter. So anything with Jason Statham, I love.
Yeah.
Jason Statham's an awesome actor. I think the actor is what makes the show. So if you don't like the actor coming into Blacklist, you're not going to appreciate Blacklist. For example.
Well, and that's the thing. That was the first thing I've ever seen him in. I just didn't like it.
Oh, okay.
You know?
I gotta admit, I've been kind of binging on a little bit of the old ass X-Files happening there.
I might get back into that.
I got into that a couple weeks ago, and I'll watch 1 or 2 episodes here and there.
And I will get back into Ancient Aliens, but I watched the entire season 13 and half of 12, I got to take a break.
Now,
you know that.
as far as Ancient Aliens goes, and I don't know. Okay, so anybody that knows me knows that I do documentaries.
Documentaries are great.
I do documentaries.
You guys suck.
Like so many documentaries. He hates me for it. Because every single time that I have a chance to pick whatever's on the TV,
Right.
it is some form of documentary.
Which is all the time.
So I did binge watch a couple months back every season of Ancient Aliens. And this is I would say probably the third time that I've done that. So I will wait in between, like
Right.
a year or so in between, and then I will start from the beginning and watch all the way through every season of it. It drives him nuts because it's always the same stuff, and he's like, "Oh my god!"
Izzy's knocking on you. She says, "Biggest understatement ever." Kayla watching documentaries.
Yeah.
Absolutely, but you know, I want to get some of the guys and gals from Ancient Aliens on the show.
So do I, especially the little green ones.
Little green guy.
Yeah.
Which one's that?
The ones that come from
They didn't really give him a name.
Oh, okay.
We call it Anunnaki. Those the little green guys.
I want to get Ramona, the Egyptologist, on the show. That's one of my goals, because
I want to do a show on Egypt. I want to do a show on Egypt.
If you want to talk a culture that started paranormal, look at Egypt.
Yeah.
And the
Did
Celts.
you see that new, it was a news article that just came across my Facebook, and they just unearthed another burial chamber there, where they found like 98 bodies, like mummified bodies.
In the pyramid? You talking about the fourth chamber?
I can't remember what they called it. They were alive. All of them. The
When
one
they
girl,
got mummified?
she
When they
ate
were
part of her.
mummified?
Yeah, she ate part of her arm. She got the thing off her mouth, and she was trying to bite through the rest of the cloth, and she ate part of her arm to get through it.
They didn't have the bell?
Well, why wouldn't they? They knew they were alive when they put them down there.
Absolutely.
It was a pretty horrendous thing, I guess, to walk into.
Oh, I imagine.
But yeah, they're all lined up against the wall. So it's a long hallway, and they're all lined up against the
Yeah,
wall.
it sounds like the fourth chamber. So where did they go into it?
It's a completely white.
Completely white chamber?
Yeah, it's marble. It's not your usual sandstone.
What's their explanation for it?
They don't have one. They just opened it,
Okay.
and it's their first discovery of what they're finding.
And you know what they've even said that the scientists won't even admit when they're wrong because it's science. But science is always evolving and it's always changing. They need to get outside the box. And
But like, could you imagine finding that? Could you imagine going in there, even like now as a paranormal investigator? Think of how much energy that room has.
can you imagine the EMF meter?
Right? God.
No thanks. No, that is one area of the world that I will not touch. Even if somebody
That's just
paid...
because you're allergic
Nope.
to the sun.
Okay,
That too.
that is true. That's true. But no, if somebody paid full freaking access, gave me all the money in the world to do a dig up there, I wouldn't touch it. No thanks.
Oh, I would.
Oh, I know you would.
So
I think that's our next.
I'm going to tell you right now, the Middle East in general, the energy, not just Egypt, but just being in the Middle East, the energy you feel. That's really Mesopotamia and all those regions are the beginning of civilization.
Yeah, honestly, like, it is one of my dreams, and it sounds stupid when I say it out loud, but one of my dreams is to walk at least one of the paths that the Persian army walked to take over the world. Just walk the entire, like, one of their trips.
Take pointy sticks.
Well, you know what?
Well, it didn't work so well for them, so probably not.
You and Eric can go walk the Persian path Well, me and
gladly.
Izzy go.
We gotta get
to,
an AR-15 first.
I don't know.
That's a better pointy stick.
Yeah. Friend, I don't think they're going to let us have it there. But no, like, I mean, like, think, here's what I mean. Like, if I was to go to Greece, I would walk the same path they did as they came off the beach.
Okay, so here's the thing that I can tell you about him for sure, because it irritates the crap out of me when we do go on vacation. Okay, anytime we've ever gone on vacation anywhere, we usually split up, and he spends at least one of the days at whatever random historic site he can find, and goes and wanders through the whole thing, and spends the entire day there. I can't do that. That drives me nuts.
Oh, you just pissed off Izzy. She wants to go to Greece. She's been wanting to go to Greece for years, and you just said you want to go to Greece and walk the trail?
Well, there we go. Now,
I guess we're going to Greece.
yeah. Haha.
Come on. You know what? I've been saying Ireland forever, and you're wanting to go to Greece now. Please. I'm never going to make it to Ireland.
Oh, we'll make it to Ireland and Scotland. And
The plane probably goes over there, kinda, so we'll just drop you off on the way.
And that's fine.
We'll open the door and shove you out.
you got to go to airborne school first. You know how to land properly.
Nah, I'll just pull the cord and pray. I got it.
If we take a cruise, she can jump off the boat with a parachute.
No, just you don't need a parachute for a boat. You just need to learn how to land properly.
That's true.
Whatever.
That
I'm the
means
unsinkable Caleb Brown.
So to land properly, you must land on your feet and drop to the ground and roll. Just remember that. Drop and roll.
Dude, my luck. Okay, my luck. I would probably break my neck on the roll. After breaking my leg on the
She'd
drop.
land at Leap Castle and just get to the edge of the cliff and roll off.
No, I ain't jumping out of no plane.
Okay. Screw airborne. We'll sit at air assault.
I was thinking t-shirt gun.
So
Just get a Wile E. Coyote me.
So air assault's not near as hard. That's just repelling. I think you can do that.
Nah, I'm good. I'm good with my feet on the ground. I'll walk there before I'll friggin' jump out of a plane. Then.
Good luck with that.
No, you don't
Jesus.
repel out of an airplane. You jump out of an airplane. You
Sitting here
repel out of a
walking on
helicopter.
water.
Huh?
She's sitting here walking on water. Who do you think you are?
No, air assault uses helicopters. Airborne uses airplanes.
She just said she was walking to Ireland.
Oh, good luck with that.
Hey,
You get a walk of water?
I can figure it out. Probably not, but I'm gonna get eaten by a
Yes,
sharknado.
Dennis says Greece, the Cyclades pilgrimage. Like the Camino in Spain. Just you and nature on the 100+ walk.
Yeah, I would love that.
Oh, God.
Could you imagine the things that are still in that ground?
With an AR-15.
No.
And a
Oh my God, guys.
We are not invading Greece.
No. So take the 100+ walk? No, we gotta have weapons.
Why in the
You
hell
never
would
know
you
what
have
you're
to
gonna
have a
jump
weapon?
out with silver bullets. Come on.
Okay, so you're expecting Werewolf in London to come to Greece at the same time?
Absolutely.
Like, no, man. Nuh-uh.
The only thing that's going to jump out is Zeus, and you ain't getting him with an AR-15.
Okay, I should... Oh, yeah, no.
Yeah, you know what? That's what we can do. You guys can go on your 100+ million mile walk, and me and Izzy can go and, you know...
Hang out on the beach?
Hang out with the gods. Yeah.
Okay.
Thing is, that's where that walk ends.
Cool. So I'm going to take a car to the big end of that walk and keep it there. Oh, man.
No, S4 Radio does not endorse the armed invasion of any country, including but not limited to Ireland or Greece.
Damn rights, we do it unarmed.
I'm sorry, I'm just imagining you
Pointy
running
sticks.
around without any arms. No.
Pointy sticks.
Pointy sticks aren't. That's not armed.
No, it's just pointy sticks.
They're for defense. Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
You have your pointy sticks. I'm just going to carry a rock.
Oh, with a slingshot?
Nope, just a rock.
Oh, but Okay, so in some of those countries they don't use a slingshot. They use the slingshots in biblical days, basically just a cloth that they're pretty good at that.
I don't think it's an invasion if we were invited.
No,
Yeah, you know what? Okay, so
Dennis says S4 can endorse the invasion of Canada. I don't think if we're invited, I don't think it's an
no,
invasion.
the border's closed.
you know what? I would
yeah.
love to invade Canada right now because I have a lot of friends and family up there that I would love to see that we haven't seen in a long time.
So for our foreign listeners, if you want to invite us to your country, and we'd see about coming to your country and doing an S4 show there.
Yeah, Izzy, make it happen.
We gotta wait till we're invited.
We could take the Apache.
All you gotta do the Apache. Okay, we gotta buy one first.
Izzy said she's working on it.
So here's
I
the
heard
cool
her.
part about the Apache. The Apache can actually fly inverted,
Especially when I'm flying.
right? It can also fly with no oil in the transmission for up to 30 minutes.
I like how you know it's 30 minutes.
I do. It's really interesting what pilots will tell you when they're drunk in an Irish bar.
Oh, so you get to go to Ireland. That's
Oh, I'm typing on the wrong thing.
Ugh.
Oh, the Apache's not in the budget. What about a Striker? I want a Striker.
She is our money management person. Fix the budget.
Okay, with
Yeah.
the way that the budget looks now, a Twinkie is not even in the budget.
You know what? Now that I said that, there's going to be a notice that comes up here that says S4 does not endorse any tax evasion.
No.
Oh, man.
So, no, the Apache is a very unique helicopter, very cool helicopter. I had the pleasure of working with them for 3 years. The pilots are great. Actually do the test pilot, so whenever the maintenance was done on any of the Apaches, he would take it up and do some crazy stuff with it.
Cool.
He's a CW5.
She says we could maybe get some Hot Wheels. We at least want Power Wheels. Like, come on.
Right? Something we can, it's got a little tiny motor to it.
Actually, you know what?
Diecast.
Walmart now has an Abrams tank. Power Wheels.
They do.
For real?
Yeah.
Yes. I was thinking about
Well, yeah,
getting
they
one.
can release it because, they got the Striker now.
So now, you can now buy a tank at Walmart.
Oh, make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
I want a tank.
I was actually thinking about getting you one just because it was hilarious.
One.
Like, you know what? Here.
No,
have your
actually, I
tank.
want a 113.
Friend. No, I think it would be cool to go to that side of the world and actually do some investigating.
Yeah, so do
Oh,
I.
absolutely.
I think that should be on the agenda.
The European tour.
Mm-hmm.
And then we can do the Middle East tour. But we do have to have weapons for that one.
You guys can do this.
For self-defense.
Yeah, no. I'm
Actually,
staying
I'm
out
pretty
of the
sure
Middle
we
East.
have a place to stay if we go to the Middle East.
I know we do.
So,
Yeah, in
But-
Turkey.
Yep, we can
yeah,
stay in Turkey
that's
with
where I
your
have a
sister.
place to stay.
I know. I have friends in Turkey, too.
Friend.
But they might not be around anymore.
Friend.
They were Turkish Special Forces, so...
Oh.
Yeah. I haven't heard from them in years.
Friend.
So yeah, Bulat and Murat, if you happen to be listening to the show, I'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, and shout out to her Ram. Hi, sister.
Hey, Ram.
Absolutely.
No, like it's amazing how when we talk about our history here, and you think that history is only 400 years old, and then you talk about history there,
Yeah.
and we're going 40,000 years into the past,
Yeah.
and it's just the difference is just amazing. But it's amazing to me because I'm part of a whole bunch of groups on Facebook for different areas of paranormal investigators, and some of the ones even in England. The stuff they're finding isn't from 40,000 years ago. It's only from the last 400 or 500 years.
Right.
But in my mind, I don't think all the spirits can be. Some of them have to be way older.
Well, I'm sure they are. So, if they're not from Europe, they might have gone home.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean? They might be in Egypt, or they might be in the Philippines, or where they're
Rome.
not necessarily, or Rome. Yeah, and that's the weird thing about spirits. And I brought that up 2 weeks ago, or it might have been last week. But if you died in a car wreck on the highway, you will find some of those spirits aren't stuck at that scene. They went to their house.
Yeah.
I don't know what differentiates that. I still don't. And that's, so they might have been killed in Germany, for example, but they're from Rome. They might have gone back to Rome, to their house. But it's just like the spirit I talked to in Germany. He was a World War II pilot. But he chose to stay in Germany and haunt the bakery. That's what he chose to do. They have the option.
Well,
Sometimes.
I don't think all of them have that option. Though. I think it has something to do with your energy, the energy of a place, and what your belief system is at the time of death. Maybe it has something to do with how horrific your death is too.
So and that's the perfect point too. Is you might for the ones that don't know they died, I think they're probably stuck at that location. The ones that, oh wow, look, there's my body. Oh, I must be dead. I'm going to go home now. Because I always compare it to the others. They died in their house, but they didn't know they were dead. Now, if that scenario would change and they had died in a car wreck, they might be stuck on the highway going, look, these cars are running right through us. What the hell?
Maybe.
$400 for a... No.
It's got a working cannon. Okay.
Does it shoot Nerf missiles?
Yeah. But they're huge.
Dennis is going to use it for rent day. You want your rent? Come and get it over my dead tank. Uh-huh. Yeah.
It's only a $50 delivery fee.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's $450 here.
And the turret rotates.
Well, I would hope it would.
Okay, we are not getting.
But I don't think it goes 60 miles an hour.
And
either.
it fits both of us. It can if I get in it.
Okay. No tanks, guys. Even Power Wheel tanks.
I know enough about vehicles that I can switch out that so it will go that fast. You know enough about armory that we can switch out those guns.
We can make it a working tank. Yeah.
Holy mini tank. That would be hilarious. I am sorry, but to see both of you guys sitting in a Power Wheel running around the neighborhood.
Yeah, shooting up Cape Horn.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, no, we do not condone
We do not condone shooting up Cape Horn.
Yeah. Anyway, we are down to the last 10 minutes. I do want to, it is Memorial Day, I do want to say in memory of Thomas McNair, a dear Navy friend of mine who did commit suicide here in Skagit County. He was in the Navy. Christopher Fisher, a dear soldier that was under my charge who committed suicide. And obviously Thomas Marion, a friend of mine, who died in a car wreck. You're always in memory.
Thank you all for your service.
Absolutely. So I hope y'all enjoy the Memorial Day show. Yes, it was random. It was rambling, but it was fun. Sometimes we do have to do shows like this, especially on Memorial and Veterans Days, just to, I don't know, let off military memory steam sometimes. Next week, we do have...
Dr. Simeon Hine.
Absolutely.
I'm so
awesome.
excited.
Yeah, it's his area of study is crop circles and UFOs and their connection. So we're definitely excited to have him on. Please join us next week for that. Also, it is our last weekend for the month of May giveaways. We are giving away our extra large swag bag that weekend. Make sure you get in your entries with your paranormal experience or any story that you have to share with us to s4radiowinner@gmail.com. Make sure you get that in before the end of the week. Do not forget to check out the new store. The girls have been working off their butts off on that store.
And you with
It's
the
amazing.
apron.
Yeah.
Cole made the apron just for you for your barbecue.
Yeah. Seriously.
I mean, come on now. We even have a bomber's jacket.
Yeah, there's a bomber's jacket. There's all kinds of things in that store. It is an amazing area. Go take a look at it at www.s-4radio.com and click on the merch. If you need any advertising on here, we would love to advertise for you. There's also an advertising button on that, so make sure you check that out. You can check out all of the past episodes on s4radio.com, s-4radio.com, and thank you everyone for listening. And Eric, thank you for your service.
Thank you very much. I would never change a thing. And y'all have a safe week. We'll see you same time, same station. And
Same
keep your eyes
back time. Same
to the
back
skies.
place.
Holy potatoes, Batman!
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us tonight on S4, the official voice of Forest Moon Paranormal. You can contact S4 through our website at www.s-4radio.com or on Facebook. Make sure you give us a like on our page and join the Forest Moon Paranormal group. If you are interested in advertising, take a look at our packages and contact Cole or Eric at 1-360-999-2830. Again, thank you. And remember, keep your eyes to the sky.